Am I the asshole here for telling my wife I don't want any more kids? So me, 31 male, and my wife, 28 female, have 3 kids together. 2 boys and 1 girl. About 1 year ago, after our last child was born, we discussed if we wanted any more kids. We both agreed on no more kids because having another child when we already have 3 is enough for us. Okay, so last night my wife started going on and on about wanting another baby, showing me baby TikToks and nursery photos. I reminded her about the fact that we already agreed on having no more kids, and even if I did want another baby, it wouldn't work out money-wise because our 2 boys already play sports and we're planning on putting our little girl in a sport also. If you know, you know, sports ain't cheap. I listened to her rant for about 20 minutes, saying how once the baby was born I wouldn't regret saying yes, and how she'll refuse to have kids after a certain age if I ever asked again. I just flat out told her no. We agreed on what we agreed on already, and I just don't want any more kids. And I also wouldn't have a strong connection to the baby because I didn't want another baby in the first place. She got up, stomping her feet upstairs, and locked herself in our room. When it was time for bed, she sighed every time I tried to talk to her and ignored me. I don't get it. We already agreed on not having any more kids. Am I being a jerk or what? I feel like I am. In the comments, Just Appointment says, "She's talking about it as if you're getting a new dining room set or something shit." Seriously, the children they already have are gonna have a worse life because they won't be able to provide for them. Why doesn't she care about that? Yeah, it doesn't sound like she wants to be a parent, she just wants to be the mother of a baby. It's the whole, I want a puppy, but I don't want a dog bullshit mentality. Not the asshole. She's letting herself be influenced by TikTok and the emotional high that comes with it, but she's not thinking about the effect it's going to have on your family and your finances. Honestly, you guys need to sit down and have a conversation, because if she decides to get pregnant without a serious talk, it's going to suck all around for all of you. OP replies, "I think that's what's happening. There isn't a second where she's not on TikTok watching trad wives taking care of their babies. I swear that trad wife TikTok shit is brainwashing. I'm gonna have a talk with her tonight. Maybe she can see that we are not fit for another baby." Oh boy, you're in deep shit, dude. Trad wife content equals 100% Looney Tunes. Oh my god, no, not the trad wives. They're fake as hell. Tell her to watch Hannah Alonso's video on trad wives. And no, I don't think you're the asshole because you're just being realistic. Did you guys watch Hannah Alonso's video on trad wives? I want to know what you think of it. All the TikTok trad wives have rich husbands and/or are making bank off of being influencers. It's not in the same universe as the reality of being a regular stay-at-home mom. Dude, go and get snipped ASAP, or you'll discover soon that her birth control magically failed. Also, for 6 months after being snipped, wear a condom. A vasectomy is not 100%, sometimes up to a year. Go every 3 months to see if you have any sperm viable. Too many stories of vasectomies not taking and people having a baby they don't want. Be extra careful. Honestly, it was giving a bit of red flags during that post itself with her being so pushy. It kind of felt like to me she was just idealizing a reality that would not actually live up to the reality she has in her head. And that's why it was smart of OP to be like, haha, yeah, this sounds great, but how about we don't do that? Because we're already doing enough to balance our life as is, and another baby will just kind of destroy it. But also in my mind, it's like, how privileged to be able to fantasize about a reality in which you can support a 4th child. Like, damn. It feels like that is rare in this day and age, is it not? Like, people can't even afford 1 child. People can't even afford themselves. How the hell is this woman happily fantasizing about a 4th child? Oh my god, what are their income levels? And then the cherry on top is just the tradwife content. How many times has that come up on here? Like, how are people so able to be influenced by this? Watch some goddamn YouTube documentaries doing deep dives into it, and you will have that allure of tradwife content destroyed. Because it is all a fetish fabrication. It is not to be taken seriously. And yet we keep having posts where people are like, damn, she can make Coca-Cola from scratch. I'ma have a fourth baby. That shit is wild. Like, no, it's not reality. Stop. And it's only gonna get worse now that all these AI videos are so incredibly realistic. We're just gonna have people that aren't even real fetishizing tradwife content. It is going to look more than real. It is gonna be something that is convincing people to do more insane things. And we will get more posts like this being like, so my wife found the fake tradwife AI content, and now she wants me to have a fifth child with her. Like, bro, I'm not ready for the future. Back up to the post, there is an edit. Well, damn, I posted this like an hour ago. I didn't expect all the comments, but I really appreciate y'all's help and advice. I do plan on having a serious talk with her when I get home. And about the vasectomy comments, I planned on getting one after our baby girl was born, and we'd both decided on no more kids. I do plan on getting one sometime soon because we are not fit for another baby, and I don't want to accidentally get her pregnant. Thanks for the advice. I appreciate all of y'all. I might update y'all if I don't forget. Matter of fact, I don't think I will with the way my phone is blowing up from all these comments. For everyone saying that my wife has a mental illness, please stop. Either you agree or disagree with me, or give some advice and insight. Don't be talking rude about my wife, facepalm emoji. Okay, update. I got home from work and me and my wife had a deep conversation. It felt nice really talking to my wife on such a deep level. We decided to go on a walk around this little park near our home, and it was very nice. We really opened up to each other. Her friends were the main influence. They're also on that trad Mormon TikTok, and they convinced my wife that she should have another baby because that's what God put her on this earth to do. I told my wife I respect her, and being a mother may be one part of your life, and it's meaningful, but it's not the only thing that gives you worth or purpose. It made me angry that her friends really told her that's what she was put on this earth to do, and that it's her only purpose to have babies. She is a creative woman, she's funny, kind, and very intelligent. It hurt me to think that having babies is her only purpose when there is so much more about her. We're now home eating chocolate-covered almonds and popcorn while watching a funny movie. I love seeing her laugh. Crying laughing emoji, thumbs up emoji. I love that. We understand each other now on a much deeper level than before. I love my wife. And to all the comments saying that we should get a dog, we might. We're thinking a golden retriever. Thank you for all the advice. She decided that she wants a garden too when we're having breakfast together, something to do while the kids aren't home. I think that's pretty nice, thumbs up emoji. Gotta plan when I'm going to build it though. She wants tomatoes, berries, peppers, cucumbers, and a bunch of flowers too. Well, you mean capsicum, not peppers, right? Just want to make sure you guys are all on the same page as Australia here. I'll make it work out somehow. Just gotta find time to start building that thing. Crying laughing emoji. In the comments, Queen Amarella says, I'm glad you guys talked it out. But at the same time, your wife is a bit old to be so easily manipulated by her friends. I think it'd be good for her to get a bit of a backbone and to learn to think for herself without putting so much value in her friends' opinions. Because if it happens once, it'll probably happen again. Plus, she'll be thankful for it later in life because people who try to manipulate and persuade you to do whatever they want are everywhere. The sooner she learns to listen to others, but not let it get inside her head, the better. Have fun with your new doggy soon. I read the updates. Definitely not the asshole. Good for putting your foot down, and good for choosing to walk and talk. Her friends suck. Trying to suck that wonderful soul from the amazing woman your wife is. I'm excited for the gardening journey. It's a very relaxing and rewarding experience. Good for you for being an awesome husband, and good luck on the build. That's what I'm saying. Like, how insane for those friends to say, you were put on this earth to have babies. Your only purpose is to have babies. Oh my god, with friends like that, huh? Everyone's saying the wife has a mental illness? What about these friends? Is that not like group psychosis? How about we all shit on those friends for a second here? That's ridiculous. I agree with OP though. Yes, a mother may be one part of your life and it's meaningful, but it's not the only thing that gives you purpose. I'm curious, is this a case of these people genuinely believe this and they've always been like this and these Mormon TikToks are just reconfirming these viewpoints, maybe making them not be so insular about those viewpoints? Now they're like, okay, it's mainstream. Now we can spread the good word. Or did they never actually have those thoughts and they were brainwashed by the trad Mormon TikToks? I don't know the answer to it, but I think it's a good topic of discussion to have. One that I'd probably have with Jack on the podcast, and then we'd go crazy talking about some other bullshit and get severely off track. But that's why I love that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a link in the description to the kind of podcast / this, but just on camera. My new channel, Certified Arseholes. It is great, give it a watch. But back on topic, I'm glad that these two opened up to each other. I'm glad that she was able to see reason and she didn't double down on her worldview that she has recently picked up on. I think if she were to do that, that would have been incredibly damaging. Thank God they have enough trust in each other to work this out amicably, unlike a lot of the other stories we see where one person takes the reins and goes completely off the beaten track, and it just doesn't end up well. Thank you for the story, OP, and thank you for the updates. Am I the asshole here? My wife went out with a recently single friend. I'm in a weird situation, and I'm beginning to feel like I was in the wrong because of my wife's response, or lack thereof. Let me begin. Last Saturday, my wife went out with a friend who was recently divorced. Anyway, she invited my wife out to a brewery for a fundraiser, and she had told me that she would be gone from about 4 to 8. She took our youngest to their house to play with her friend's children, who were the same age, and their teenage daughter was going to watch them. Fast forward to 9-ish, and I haven't heard from her. I know they left the brewery, and apparently decided to go bar hopping to find her a man, quote unquote. Okay, not a big deal to me. I'm comfortable with her being a wingman anytime. At around 11, I text her to see how it's going. Again, looking for a man for X. I send back the laugh emoji and a thumbs up. Crickets until 1 a.m. She says my son is asleep and she's sleeping there and she's being the designated driver. I doubt that, but my wife is pretty good at pacing herself. At this point, I find it really odd that she wouldn't just wake up our kid and come home at 1 a.m. So I get curious and check to see where her car is. It's a newer car, so the app shows the location. They're at another bar until about 1:30. This is where it gets uncomfortable for me. They leave and go to a random house, nowhere near her friend's house or anything. I find it a little odd. Her car doesn't leave from that point on. At around 2:30, I decide that I need to do some recon. It's about a 20-minute drive, but away from town. I drive out there, and there's a house and a barn, and clearly a party going on. I get out and get close enough that I can hear people and music, but not close enough to really see because it was a gravel driveway and I didn't want to make noise. So I sit around for about an hour deciding how I should handle the situation. Do I wait until Sunday and ask her how everything went last night and what time they got in and see if she lies to me? Or do I confront the situation? Around 3:30, I decide that I need to just drive up and see what happens. I pull up with my lights off, and nobody notices because of the music. I peek into the barn and there's a camper trailer with no lights on. I go over to the house and I see my wife's friend and 2 guys talking. I peek into the window and nobody else is visible. I walk in the front door and say that I'm looking for my wife. The 2 guys look surprised and one guy introduces himself. I was happy it didn't get confrontational. My wife's friend immediately walks out and takes me over to a different camper trailer and walks in and shuts the door, and I quickly hop in there and my wife is sleeping on the bed. So we go outside and I'm like, I just had to make sure my wife is safe, but explain that I don't think it's okay that a married person would meet random guys and go to their house. There's some other dialogue, but for the sake of time, I'll spare some of that, But basically, I peace out and just say that I'm most upset that they would leave my child unaccompanied all night, and if they wanted to go bar hopping all night, I wouldn't really care, but I don't think married couples should be in a position like this. They spent the whole night there. The next morning at 7:30 a.m., my wife texts me and says they're at my wife's friend's house. So she comes home at around 2 p.m. on Sunday, and I walk in with my other kids, and she's like, "Are you still mad at me for falling asleep?" I didn't say anything to her, and we had a sports barbecue that I ended up being at until about 9 p.m. with my kids, and she was asleep when I got home. I got up early this morning and went to work. Am I the asshole here, or am I too crazy for confronting the situation? Part of the reason I decided to drive out there is that in June 2024, my wife was on a work trip to New York City, and she had a stroke in her hotel room, and her co-workers called me at 6 a.m. the next morning to ask if I'd heard from my wife, and I said no. I tracked her through Find My iPhone, and she was at the hospital. Her family has a history of strokes. Her sister at 35, and her brother at 33, and her dad at 40. So I'm cautious of her going out without me. In the comments, Valuable Doubt says, "Not the arsehole. This was extremely irresponsible of her. She lied about being with your kid and where she was. Going to a rando's barn isn't safe. Leaving a teen to watch your kid overnight without warning is not safe." This right here. She threw away your trust when she lied about her location and being with your child. 100% this for me. Within reason, I don't care what you do, as long as I'm in the loop about it. She lied to you about where she was. She could have been hurt, assaulted, or cheating. You are not the asshole. People are quick to blame the single friend, but the wife could have said no, this is not appropriate. Not the asshole. According to your post history though, she's checked out emotionally. Be the asshole and beat her to the punch. Start detaching and planning your escape route. Change is urgently needed. OP says, "Trust me, 4 kids and I do love her. Never have not loved her. I just wish she wanted me back." Oof. Chaos Analyst replies, "She won't love you back. Leave. Start planning. Because it's going to be worse if she leads." Based on a previous comment you made about your dead bedroom, and your wife is out bar hopping and sleeping at other men's houses, I would say she's most likely cheating. She's not acting like a wife. Either she changes, or put her out and find a partner who doesn't act like she has been. OP says, "I agree. This one really hit home for me because this is what my mum did to my dad over the course of a decade, and I'm pretty emotional right now." Rocklam says, quote, "She's purposely getting into precarious situations. While she may not initiate cheating, she may be receptive to it." User Loop-Sided Ad posted this, and I think it needs to be reiterated. Oh, I did not see this one coming. It always hurts to see people bring up, more details like that because they go snooping into the OP's profile. And yeah, I don't really know what you say about this one. It sounds like, she has checked out of the relationship. OP doesn't want to let go, understandably. But man, you gotta do it for the kids. The kids are not going to be happy seeing 2 parents that are not in love, that are slowly falling apart, that are slowly falling out of love. I don't think you're the asshole here for what you did, but, when you bring that part of it up, the dead bedroom, the relationship falling apart, maybe you'd be the asshole to yourself if you didn't leave as fast as you can and have a healthy co-parenting relationship for your kids. She's an asshole for dipping out on the child. She's an asshole for sleeping at another man's barn. Absolutely. Everything she did here was wrong. She should know that. You should make her aware of the fact that you hate everything she's done. She's a piece of shit for doing that. But what you do from here is what counts, and you need to be thinking of yourself and your kids first and foremost. And now, onto the update. We had about 10 to 15 minutes to talk before I had to go to a meeting. I asked flat out if she had had sex, and she said no, but then made a snarky comment of, "But I easily could have." That completely derailed me. She said her friend knew whose house it was and knew the guys, and that there was another married couple there. She said both guys that I talked to knew that she was married. She said they were friends she's known for a while, but has a crush on one. Clarifying, my wife's friend supposedly knows them, and my wife's friend has a crush on one. It took a while for me to get an apology. Not gonna lie, this sucks bad. She almost has no remorse. She admitted that it was a stupid thing to do, but felt like she couldn't leave her friend and come home. I said that's ridiculous. You should have grabbed our kid at 1 to 2 and drove home. She said she'll never do it again. I brought up if I did that, how would it look? That's basically the only way I got an apology or acknowledgement that it was a bad idea. But she also deflected that because my mum cheated, that I was comparing her to my mum. I said no. I'm not accusing you of anything, but that I'm sure that this is how it starts out. I got home little before 9 p.m. and she's asleep in our room with 2 of our kids. Update 2. I was uneasy last night, so we had a late night discussion. She went through everything they did in the evening, said they went to a bar with a younger crowd, and at that point her friend wanted to meet up with a guy that she, my wife's friend, had a crush on at another bar. My wife said that she didn't have a drink and was talking to an older gentleman like in his 80s, and he was talking about his grandkids. She said her friend was going to Uber with the other 2 guys that she, my wife's friend, supposedly knew to the barn/house where a married couple lives. This seems like an odd thing and doesn't really add up to me. My wife can be a yes person and said because she was sober that she offered to drive them out there to make sure that her friend was okay. She said they sat around and talked for a bit, and then she asked the owner of the house, the married woman, if she could lay down for a bit, and that's what led her to the trailer. Again, odd to me. She said she wasn't planning on staying long, but long enough to drive home. To be honest, she does have narcolepsy, and when she needs a nap, she literally cannot stay awake. I told her she should have thrown them in an Uber and paid for it. She was more apologetic and assured me that I wasn't crazy for showing up or being upset by her behavior and decision-making. I still plan on talking to her friend to see if she'll give me the same details to make sure that it adds up. That night when I confronted her, she assured me that nothing happened as well, and she did seem somewhat sincere about that. As for the relationship, those that have done some research are aware of our dead bedroom situation, which has gone on for a few years to say the least. We've been married for 18.5 years, and she has literally never done something close to this, and she's not a regular drinker or beer drinker at all. Because some of her health issues, she literally doesn't go out without me or someone who knows some of the issues that she could have, and she can't drive very far on her own. Thanks to a lot of people for their support, advice, and encouragement. I do need to focus on myself and my mental health. I'll let you know if there are more developments. In the comments, My Dirty Alt says, so she was sober at 1 a.m. when she lied to you about where she was and knowing what she was actually going to do? I don't see how this makes things any better. Have you asked to see her phone to see what she's been saying through this whole thing? Yeah, I don't fully believe her bullshit at this point. Though I also question so much about the first post that I'm not fully on board with this one. OP says, no, I haven't seen her phone. Should have been the first thing I did. Maybe because I'm actually scared to find some truth to the unknown. My Dirty Alt replies, you can't take her at her word at this point, so if she hopes to regain your trust, she should willingly hand it over. You might find corroborating details there, or not. Be sure to check the deleted messages, call logs, and location history as well. Necessary Tap says, there's still too many holes in this story for me, but you're the one who has to make your own choices. I hope it works out, but I'm afraid that you still don't know the full truth. Her lie about where she was and the convenient explanation sounds like a well-thought-out, rehearsed story. My guess is the friend will give you the same story, almost word for word. Don't look for confirmation of the truth from her, only confirmation of your wife's story. OP replies, there's significant holes in what they're doing, but for the sake of characters, I couldn't put everything down, so I tried to highlight some of the major points. But not gonna lie, there was a point where they actually came back into our town and sat in a parking lot and then left again. Like they were heading home and then made other plans. Necessary Tap replies, You have to ask yourself why she lied if she did nothing wrong enough to merit the deception. She lied for a reason, and it's not as innocent as she's letting on. Yeah, it's hard. And there's OP's story, there's the wife story, there's the friend story, and then somewhere in between that, there is the truth. But I don't know what to say besides I don't trust the wife, and her saying, if I wanted to cheat, I could've, I would've, I might've. Why would you say that when you're trying to reassure your husband that you didn't cheat? That's not something that you say. That's very weird. Too many holes in this story. I'm upset on OP's behalf. I wish him nothing but the best in dealing with this situation. Good luck to him. When the time comes, I hope that it is a graceful breakup, because I genuinely don't see this continuing. Like, he can continue the dead bedroom and the dead relationship if he'd like to, but for all intents and purposes, from my point of view, it's time to cut your losses and break up with her. You're only going to continue to get lies from her, because how can you trust anything she says at this point going forward? I'm sorry that you're dealing with this, OP. I wish you nothing but good luck going forward from this, and please let us know how this all ends. Thank you. Our next post is by user Additional Whereas, and it's titled, Am I the asshole for booking to go away the same weekend as my boyfriend, leaving him to look after our daughter? My boyfriend and I have a 3-year-old daughter together. He used to go away very occasionally by himself before we had her, and this has increased quite a lot since she was born. Not for long periods, just a night or two. He also visits his daughter from a previous relationship, which is fine, but I'm mentioning it because it is relevant later. He is notoriously bad for informing me when he is going away. He always claims that he told me and I forgot. There have been times where he arranged to see his daughter on weekends when plans have already been made. These were all pre-COVID. Once I had arranged for my mum to babysit for our anniversary and for us to go out. Another time I was meant to be attending a baby shower and I needed him to watch our daughter. Another time I had arranged to go to the theater with a friend. His daughter lives quite far away, so he wouldn't have made it back in time to watch our daughter. He was fully aware of all of these plans and claimed that he forgot when arranging to see his daughter. I didn't ask him to cancel, as it's not fair on her, so I had to make other arrangements in each case. Obviously, he's been going away less because of restrictions. As soon as they eased, he's been going away. I have never had a night away for our daughter. I had made a couple of plans, but each time a lockdown happened, so obviously they got cancelled. He says he encourages me to go away, and he is not stopping me. I've tried to explain that his going away so much does stop me, as someone needs to look after our child. Not comfortable for either of my parents to watch her just yet, in case of any risk. In the summer, once restrictions are lifted, I've arranged to see my friend for a couple of days. I told him about it, and he said that I couldn't do it on that date because he was going on a cycle holiday. I told him he hasn't told me anything about this, and yet again, he claims he did and that I forgot. He asked me to cancel it, saying that I could go to my friends anytime. I could rearrange it, but feel I shouldn't have to. He could also rearrange camping. So I've been refusing, and he is now in a sulk. Am I the asshole for not rearranging my plans? Edit. I had gotten a family calendar when the issue of him double booking seeing his daughter arose. The problem is, he will only write in it if I nag him to do so, or he will say that he will do it later and not to treat him like a child. In the comments, Dale Cooper's wife asks, Info. I don't understand this. He visits his other kid, okay, but what about all the other times? Where is he going off to? He doesn't sound like a good partner, I'm sorry. Who doesn't communicate their plans to their significant other, especially when they're supposed to be parenting a child together? OP replies, mainly cycling, either by himself or with a friend, and they camp overnight or to his friend's house for the weekend, where they cycle, barbecue, and pub. You Cannot Be For Real too says, sure sounds like your boyfriend has a nice fun life. Thank goodness you've sacrificed any of yours so he can always do all these nice things. Also, thank goodness you care about him being able to do fun things and enjoy his friends and life. Can you imagine what his life would be like if his partner didn't care at all about him being happy and experiencing those enjoyments? Oh, that's right. You can imagine, because that's the life that you are living. Info. What's he like as a partner otherwise? What's he like as a dad to your 3-year-old? OP replies, he loves our daughter to pieces, but is very much for the fun stuff. He has started helping a bit more. For the last year, he also has been helping with part-time and bedtime. Before that, it was just me doing those things. She wakes up regularly in the night, and it is always me tending to her. He says it's not his fault he's a heavy sleeper. I've had to wake him before when she's been up from 1 a.m. and not settling back down, and I have work in the morning so I can get a couple of hours of sleep before work. Lilu Lei asks, who watches your daughter while the two of you work? And OP says, she's at nursery. Lilu Lei says, I'm seeing where you say you bought a calendar but he doesn't use it. I think personally what I would do if I were in your position is put my foot down. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. If he forces you to break plans because of something he planned without telling you or using the calendar, then you need to tell him that he has to reschedule. No discussion, that's it. Stand up for yourself. Irish19C says, with everything here, it doesn't sound like he's a good partner. His gaslighting you about his plans is not good and you need to address it. Maybe a shared calendar where he puts the time so at least there's proof, but your biggest issue is that he doesn't respect you. Being a parent and a partner is a two-way street, and everything here is flowing one way, not the asshole. Snow Angels says, he won't even mark the calendar according to OP's edit. Throw the man away, collect child support, and get your own nanny, OP, not the asshole. Well, then her response should be, if it's not in the calendar, then it won't happen. She should fill out all of her plans and say, too bad. Cancel yours, you weren't adulting, and you didn't want me to nag you, so now you have to watch our child while I go do what was planned for. Well, that's my response to my teenager. We got a shared calendar app when she got a job and car. She learned really quickly that if it isn't on the calendar, it doesn't exist. If a forgetful 16-year-old can sort it out, there's no reason that a grown man can't. Not the asshole, but the boyfriend sure sounds like one. Yeah, look, this definitely sounds like weaponized incompetence. And weaponized ignorance of the highest order. I agree. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. He can't keep pulling this bullshit. It's not fair to you. There really needs to be some solid boundaries and solid ground rules set that he is going to respect and agree to, or else you might want to start questioning your place in his life, or his place in your life. Does he deserve to be there if he's going to continually disrespect you like this? This is not a fair and equitable situation, and I'd be surprised if it lasts, personally. And now, onto the update. I'm not sure if anyone really wanted an update, but the situation came to a head, so I just wanted to vent. Thank you for everyone who commented. So I had a word with him about the family calendar and people's suggestions about if it's not on the calendar then it doesn't exist, making sure my time away was on there. He seemed to go along with it and said that he would reschedule his cycling trip. Great, I thought. Until it came to the morning of the trip. My boyfriend often gets up super early, and I roll over and go back to sleep, so thought nothing of it when he was up early. I heard the door go, but I just presumed that he was taking out the bins or something. When I woke up, I couldn't find him, and the car was gone. I tried to phone him, no answer. Some of his stuff had gone. I asked my neighbor to check his garage for my boyfriend's bike, which is where he keeps it, and it had gone. Confused and quietly seething at this point, try his phone a couple of more times, but I get nothing. I phone my friend at this point saying I can't find him and will probably miss my train. About midday, I get a phone call. He had gone on his trip. He tells me to check the calendar. He had typexed out my writing and written in his trip. I say a few choice words to him, and he basically says that it's my fault as I should have gotten up earlier. So I told him that he won, and he's now free to go on as many cycle trips as he wants now. Friend suggested taking the kids to the seaside. Her son is a similar age. We spent the next day at the beach and had a nice time. I told my boyfriend not to come back. He says I'm overreacting, but I am done. Update. He came back on Sunday. Unfortunately, can't change the locks due to renting. Came back like nothing had really happened. I calmly asked him to leave as our daughter was about. He said he wasn't going anywhere and he will watch her next week so I could go away. I said I couldn't believe he's completely missed the point of what he had done. I called my brother and asked him to pick us up. We've been staying there until I can sort out the practical parts of the split. The ex is called non-stop and turned up at my brother's house where brother turned him away. He has finally apologized. I said I am still done. I just don't have the energy or the will anymore. In the comments, in response to an info request about who owns their residence, we rent, both names on the lease. I'm hoping he'll do the sensible thing and stay with his friend, but unfortunately, the reality is that I can't kick him out and change locks. He is due back on the Sunday. Little updates in the comments from OP. I'm back at the flat now with my daughter. X is staying with a friend who has a spare room. X is helping out with the rent a bit until I can find somewhere more affordable. Last 2 weeks, he has had on a Saturday and he has turned up. He is giving me child support at the moment, which we are just doing directly between us. He seems to think that he's just giving me space, despite the fact that I've told him that I am done. My priority at the moment is making sure my daughter is as settled as possible. It's been very difficult for her not having him about as much as she used to. Another comment from her says, still at the flat until the lease is up. X is still at a friend's as far as I know. He's started seeing someone else, and visits with our daughter have become a little sporadic. But it's only been a month, and he only sees her once a week anyway, so I'll give it a little bit longer, and if it keeps messing around, I think I may have to go to court. I don't want to stop her seeing her dad, but I also don't want him constantly letting her down. And on to the next update. I feel broken. I reconciled with my ex and he blew our holiday fund on a strip club. I, 33 female, broke up with my boyfriend, 35 male, of 8 years, about 9 months ago. We have a 4-year-old daughter together. He was always leaving on bike rides and overriding any plans that I might have had. The last straw was him leaving early in the morning to go on a cycle holiday when I had explicitly said that I was going away for the weekend and he needed to care for our daughter. So I left him. We co-parented together well for a while, and then he started seeing someone and became disinterested in our daughter. Fast forward to 3 months ago, he started to show interest again in seeing our daughter. He was single again. I tried to keep it purely about her, but I gave in. I let myself be sucked in with his crappy promises. I agreed to start dating him again. I'll be honest, my heart had broken the last 6 months for my daughter, and if I had a chance to make it work, I felt I owed it to her. We said we would go on holiday together, so he started putting some money in a jar kept in my flat. This weekend, he said he would take it to book a holiday and put the rest in himself, which was about £300. I didn't see him after he left the flat. Still living separately, so I didn't think anything of it. One of his friend's girlfriends texts me this morning and told me they'd all been on a stag do. Her boyfriend had mentioned that my ex was dropping a lot of money in there. I confronted him and he admitted to using the holiday money. I just don't know what to do. We are done. Forever done. But I just don't know how I'll move past this. In the comments, Galaxian Warrior says, I can't believe you actually got back with him. You've been burned time and time again. He only took interest in your daughter after he broke up with the person he was seeing. He's not a good father to her. That's all you need to know. OP replies, I feel like an idiot. He kept saying how irrational it was to leave him in the first place over something so minor. How my stubbornness was affecting our daughter. Finally came to the realization that I was setting up my daughter for a poor image of how you should be treated. I want better for her. Currently just in contact with his mum, and if he wants to see her, it will be via her, at least for the time being. And now, on to the next update, titled, Am I the asshole for not giving my ex our old baby stuff? So I was with my ex for about 8 years. We share a daughter together. For some background, the last year has been a difficult one. We broke up after he snuck out on a cycling holiday when I was due to go away with a friend. Stupidly started dating him again. I had insisted that we go slowly. We were putting away some cash to go on a holiday as a family, which he ended up taking out of my flat and blowing in a strip club. So we fully ended about 2 months ago. Now it turns out he's going to be a father again. From what I can gather, the woman is past the 12-week mark. When I was dropping off my daughter for the weekend, he mentioned the pregnancy and whether he could have the baby stuff that I had from when our daughter was little, that we were saving for a potential second. I told him he's welcome to take anything that he bought, which is the grand total of a novelty baby grow, a gown, I'm not sure what they meant by that, and a hat. Obviously now I don't need the stuff, and I don't know if I'm being petty, but I told him no, absolutely not. He hasn't even seemed to acknowledge the fact that he got her pregnant when we were trying to get back together, but that's a battle that I just can't get the energy to fight. My ex-mother-in-law has remained pretty neutral, and I have a pretty good relationship with her, but she's been putting a bit of pressure on me to give him the stuff. Am I the asshole for not even considering passing the baby stuff on to him? In the comments, Nico09 says, "Not the asshole, don't do it. He absolutely does not deserve it. Did you ever get the $300 back that he stole?" OP replies, "No. If I'm honest, I didn't really talk to him after that. Anything to do with our daughter goes via his mom. I want to try and maintain my composure for my daughter. I couldn't cope with his bullshit excuses anymore. He doesn't seem to think that he owes me anything." And now onto the latest update. I'm not sure if anyone will read this, but I wanted to place my thoughts and update anyone who was interested. I found it quite therapeutic posting on Reddit. My ex had a baby boy. Finally got the son that he wanted. I ended up giving him the very few items that he bought for our daughter, which mainly consisted of novelty hats and novelty baby grows. Oh, I've just googled and realized a baby grow is what they wear. My bad. Sorry guys, I haven't had a baby before. Unfortunately, he has little to do with our daughter. He has let her down many times since the new baby came. I won't close the door as I want to be able to hold my head high and tell her that I never stopped him seeing her, even though a big part of me wants to tell him to do one. It breaks my heart that she gets so excited and he lets her down. I've toyed with going to court to make him fight for visitation. I just don't think he cares enough. On a positive note, my daughter is very happy, and my brother and his wife are very involved, so she can see what a healthy relationship looks like. I'm uninterested in meeting anyone at the moment, but maybe one day I'll dip my foot back in. I also got a promotion at work, so I'm in a much happier place now. In the comments, Quicksilver says, "Me. Oh, I remember her. I was so happy she broke up with him." A few updates later, "Are you kidding me?" I was so worried one of the updates would be that she got pregnant by him again, and so relieved that that was not the case. But did manage to knock someone else up, so he has that going for him. He pulled the baby daddy hat trick. It's shocking to me that Reddit didn't inform her that he was not actually seeing his daughter or going for bicycle rides all that time. And she didn't figure it out for herself when he just happened to start dating someone else right away, or when he stopped seeing his daughter with her because he was seeing someone new. I think it's funny that she thinks he's happy that he got a son. I don't think he gives a crap about any of his kids, regardless of sex. I hope she starts treating herself well. Her ex is a shitty partner and father of 3 kids now by 3 different women. What a winner there. He won't change. He'll just continue to be a selfish, immature loser. OP will move on to better things and hopefully find a real father for her kid. Before she hopefully finds a real father, I hope she waltzes her happy ass down to the courthouse to get a child support and custody order. She's clearly easily manipulated and has a really twisted sense of taking the high road or whatever. Let's hope a judge can put some common sense visitation and support in writing, at least until the next time the Sperminator's bed gets cold and OP loses what's left of her self-preservation. I feel so sorry for the kids. Honestly, if that happens, then it is what it is. If she's not going to take the advice of the internet and do what is best to protect herself and her kids, then I don't think there's anything that Reddit yelling at her can and will do. For me personally, I hope there's no more updates, really. I hope she just, does the common sense thing, gets that visitation and support in writing, and she fixes what is broken in her life and she stops talking to this bum. Really, that's what needs to happen, but common sense isn't so common these days, is it? And yeah, I do feel sorry for the kids. I feel sorry for all of those kids that they have such a useless sperminator that keeps jumping around and has no care for anyone. I'm sorry this is happening to you, OP. I do hope that things turn around and get better at some point, because I do genuinely think you deserve so much better than what he has been putting you through. Thank you for the story and thank you for the updates. Am I overreacting to my girlfriend going to her ex's birthday party without telling me? Hey Reddit, I'm 29 male and I've been dating my girlfriend Lena, 27 female, for about 10 months. Things have been great overall. She's smart, funny, independent, and we've talked about moving in together next year. No major issues until this weekend. So here's what happened. On Saturday, Lena told me that she was going out with a few friends from college. Cool. No problem, I had plans to watch the game with my brother anyway. But the next day, I saw a photo of Lena on one of her friends' Instagram stories. The caption said, "Happy birthday, Jason." I recognized Jason. He's her ex. The one that she dated for about 3 years and broke up with about a year before we met. They were pretty serious from what I've gathered. I never made a big deal about it because she told me they're on decent terms, but not really close. So naturally, I asked her later that night, "Hey, were you at Jason's birthday thing?" And she looked a little surprised and said yeah, but quickly followed up with, "It wasn't a big deal, it was a group thing and I don't think it mattered." I didn't raise my voice or accuse her of anything, I just said I wish she had mentioned it beforehand. She got kind of defensive and said that I was making something out of nothing and that it's not like she was hiding it, but she kind of did hide it. I mean, I don't want to be controlling, and I know people stay friends with their exes, but the fact that she didn't even mention she was going to his birthday rubs me the wrong way. It just feels off. I'm not accusing her of cheating or anything, but I can't shake the feeling that she intentionally kept it vague so I wouldn't ask questions. She said she didn't think I would care, but the whole thing just makes me feel kind of sidelined. So am I overreacting? In the comments, Substantial Baker says, "I wouldn't be bothered if she was upfront. Generally, it's reasonable to ask permission of your partner, if that's okay with your relationship dynamic, to hang out with exes. Some people have great relationship with exes that don't have to be romantic, but it can be weird for their partners if they don't talk about it like a responsible partner would. And if after asking it isn't cool, great. Now 2 people know that they have different ideas of how relationships work, and that's helpful to know. If it isn't cool, then great, y'all are compatible. It's still something someone should ask, not hide. And that's what I'm emphasizing here. Not asking or not even mentioning it makes something that is otherwise not suspicious, very suspicious. Orange reddish flag. I don't know her well enough to outright call it a red flag. She could just be stupid. Sorry for the bluntness. OP replies, "The thing is, I didn't know they were still in contact. This is how I found out they in fact still are." Yeah, G, this doesn't sound too good. I'd confront her because a lot of this doesn't add up. Why would she hide it? And how she says it didn't really matter rings alarm bells. She's probably still testing the waters with the ex. No need to confront her. She showed her true self, and she's obviously not over her ex. The moment y'all start cutting people off at the slightest disrespect is the time that you'll actually get what you deserve. Me when I'm the Joker? Yeah, I agree. If she hid this from bro, then imagine all the other times she hid things and lied. She can't be trusted. She sounds like she's not fully invested in the relationship, and it shows. Was Lena, her friends, and Jason all part of the same friend group? Because it's weird how her friends are attending their friend's ex-boyfriend's birthday party if they aren't all in the same friend group. Not saying that she's cheating on you, but I do understand why you're uncomfortable with the whole situation, especially as she got all defensive instead of reassuring you. OP replies, "They were part of the same friend group in college, but I honestly didn't know that they were still close, let alone close enough to go to a birthday." Babe Cynthia replies, "Well, the issue is her hiding it. I lie when I want to hide something, so I would be a bit paranoid personally." OP replies, "Do you think I should confront her about it?" Fitz Design replies, "I don't think you're going to get anything out of confronting her. She lied and then basically turned it on you. Classic. Next will be her accusing you of not trusting her and being controlling. Personally, I think that the behavior red flags are flying away here, and you should seriously think about whether or not you can trust her. This OP, there's nothing to gain from another confrontation. Reconsider your relationship. I know I'd probably end things. It's so early for the lying and sneaking around, it'll just get worse. Honestly, yes, she handled this terribly. There was no communication. It's obvious that she's trying to hide this from you. If you can't trust her on this, how can you trust her in anything else? I think that this is a relationship deal breaker. I do think this is a fork in the road. Unless she has some seriously good answers as to what she was doing and why, I think it's time to hang up the towel personally. I don't think the relationship can survive from here, and more pertinently, should the relationship survive from this point forward? Like, should you give it another chance? Are you doing the right thing by yourself if you allow this to just slide and move on? Again, can you ever trust her again? Is it the right thing to do to trust her again? Because I certainly don't think so. I think this is incredibly messed up from her to be like, oh, yeah, I was at his. How'd you find out about that? So weird, so odd. I don't like her. And now, onto the update. Thanks again to everyone who responded. I didn't expect the post to blow up the way that it did, and honestly, I've spent the last few hours sitting with it all. A few comments really stuck with me, especially the ones that pointed out that it's not necessarily about where she went, but how she handled it. I ended up bringing it up when she came over this evening. Nothing dramatic, I just said that I'd been thinking about it and that it bothered me. Not even the party itself, but the fact that she didn't mention it. She didn't seem surprised that I brought it up. There was a bit of an eye roll at first, but she didn't push back much. Mostly quiet. The energy in the room shifted right away. She said something vague about not wanting it to be a thing. Not much of an apology, more like trying to smooth it over and move on quickly. And maybe that's what I'm doing too, in my own way. Afterward, we kinda just moved around each other for the rest of the evening. She left very quickly after that, and right now, I'm reading comments on my original post. I'm not sure where I land on all of this. Nothing exploded, but it also didn't feel resolved. She didn't seem interested in understanding why it bothered me, just in making sure that it didn't mess with the vibe. It's not a breakup level thing, at least not yet, but it does feel like something shifted in our relationship. That's all for now. I just figured I'd follow up. Thanks again. Update 2. I figured I'd give one last update, even though things didn't really go the way that I hoped. It's been about 10 days since I posted. Things between me and Lena never really got back to normal after that night. We had a few awkward conversations in the days after. Nothing explosive, but I could tell there was tension. She kept saying that I was overthinking it, that it wasn't that deep, but the way she avoided the topic or brushed it off just made me feel worse. The whole situation stuck with me more than I expected. It wasn't even about the party itself anymore, it was more how she handled it. It became pretty clear that we look at communication in relationships really differently. I felt like I couldn't fully trust her to be upfront, and once that feeling crept in, it was hard to shake. We ended up having a more serious talk this past weekend. She admitted she didn't tell me about the party because she knew how I'd react, which kinda confirmed the whole point for me. I don't want to be with someone who feels like they need to hide things to keep the peace. We didn't fight. It was more of a mutual, quiet decision to end things. It just felt like we were on different pages, and forcing it wasn't going to help either of us. It sucks, obviously, and I didn't want it to go this way, but in hindsight, I'm glad I trusted my gut. That uneasy feeling never really went away, and I think I'd rather deal with the short-term hurt now rather than drag this out. I appreciate everyone who gave advice. You helped me see it a bit clearer. That's all. There's not much more to say. In the comments, Annie Expressions says, she admitted that she didn't tell me about the party because she knew how I'd react. That's the go-to response of someone who isn't being honest in a relationship. She wouldn't have liked it if you did it to her, but instead of being honest about her plans that evening, she decided to play keep away with the information, knowing it's not a good look on her part and didn't want to be called out on it. Lie small, and then it becomes lie big. You knew she was on good terms, so what would be the big deal of being upfront and saying a bunch of us are going to Jason's party? She chose to lie of omission because no one's really on good terms with an ex, let alone goes to their birthday party. I doubt she learned anything. Check her socials in a few weeks, and I bet they're dating again by then. If avoidance and eye-rolling is her communication style, then she's not a good long-term partner. This was a satisfying resolution. Her love language is apathy. Except she knew how he'd react, totally does not fit. She knew how he'd react to her going to the birthday party, or how he'd react about her hiding it. So it was her plan to ruin his trust in her by lying to him to get them to break it off? I feel like if it wasn't that deep, then Opie would have known that Jason was still in Lena's friend group and they were still in contact. She made it that deep when she chose to hide the fact that he was in her life at all, and then specifically hide the fact that she was attending his birthday. At the very least, she still has feelings for Jason and handles disagreement poorly. I think Opie is better off. Lena just wasn't the girl for him. I also despise when people say it's not that deep. Your boyfriend was hurt. He expressed that hurt to you in a healthy way with the goal of moving forwards and improving the relationship. That is the definition of that deep if you actually give a shit about your relationship. No. What she meant by it was, I'm not that into you. It's not that deep. My feelings are just not that deep for you. It's not that deep. I don't care for you enough to resolve situations properly. It's not that deep. I'm just a piece of shit. That's what she meant by that. She doesn't have a healthy communication style because she didn't intend for the relationship to continue, given the way that she handled the situation. If she wanted them to be successful, she wouldn't have done what she did, she wouldn't have lied by omission, and she wouldn't have continued to breadcrumb him with the truth after the fact. I stand by what I said at the start. There's no way that you can trust her again. There's no point in moving forward with this relationship. It's great that they broke up, and I'm happy for OP. Now he gets the chance to find someone that isn't a dickhead. So congratulations, OP. On the weight loss, you lost an entire Lena's worth of weight. I am so happy for you, and I wish nothing but the best going forward. Our next post is by user Down the Rabbit Hutch, titled, I think my partner is proposing today. So I know we're used to doom and gloom on this sub, but I honestly just want to shout this out from the rooftops in a good way. But I don't want to gossip to anyone I know in person about this, because you can never be 100% sure, and I also don't want it to get back to him that I've clocked all the signs. He's not great at big romance, which is perfect for me, as I find it a little embarrassing, but he's tried to be so sneaky and so thoughtful as well, and I don't want to ruin this for him. A little long backstory. My partner D and I have been together for just over 3 years, but have known each other for 9. When we first met, at work, I was trapped in an abusive relationship and also pregnant, so obviously nothing happened physically, and he would never have tried to change that, as no one knew how bad my ex-husband was. So as far as he was concerned, I was happily starting my own family. But we instantly clicked as friends, and honestly, I think it only took me about a week to realize that I was falling for him in a non-platonic way. Little did I know that D felt the same way, but he's the most oblivious person when it comes to knowing that someone likes him in that way. He later told me that had he known everything, he'd have had me out of that situation I was in and moved in with him in a heartbeat, and ready to raise my now 8-year-old daughter as his own. I had a complicated pregnancy towards the end, so I wasn't at work for the last few months of it, and my ex made me quit my job when I should have returned after maternity leave. Me and D tried to stay in contact, but I was aware that I had inappropriate feelings for him, and I was terrified that my ex would somehow find this out and fly off the handle and hurt me. So I purposefully let our communication dwindle to nothing after I knew that I wouldn't be returning to work, even though it hurt. I think I gaslit myself into thinking that now we had a baby, my ex would magically be better, and we'd be one happy family. I put the whole thing with D down to him just being the one that got away, and I thought about him very often. D and I spoke a couple of times over the next 5 or so years, and once I learned that he was in a relationship and seemed happy, any hope I had that I could escape my abusive ex and catch D was out the window. It felt pointless to break up the family that I had for nothing, quote-unquote. Again, I gaslit myself that it wasn't as bad as it was and put myself into the staying together for the kids no matter what mindset. I've now shaken that off completely and in no way condone staying in an abusive relationship regardless of whether or not there are kids involved. So I continued on, was coerced into a marriage that I knew I didn't want, and then into having another baby, which my ex of course used to control me even more. D's relationship lasted as well, and he and his now ex had 2 children and bought a house together. Happiness for myself seemed like a pipe dream by this point, and all I could do was pour all of my love into my children and walk as carefully as possible around the sea of eggshells that constantly surrounded my ex. In 2022, everything changed. Out of nowhere, my ex left one random Tuesday morning. Of course, blaming me and saying that marriage and children were too restrictive for him. This was of course a lie, and it turns out that he was cheating, but he tried to secretly move in with her because he didn't want any consequences for his actions. He left me in a mountain of debt that he built up in my name without my knowledge. I had no way to provide solely for myself and my children, and he deliberately quit his job so we didn't have to pay any child support. He also didn't care about seeing our children, but to be honest, I was glad about that, as he barely knew how to change a nappy, and I didn't want his constant anger taken out on our children, with no one there to protect them. The initial shock and upset about the sudden change honestly only took about 5 hours to get over, and after that, I was actually just grateful that he wasn't there anymore. I figured out how to be self-sufficient and actually started to be proud of myself for how I parented as a newly single mother and dealt with the whole situation. I'm not gonna lie, D started playing on my mind almost immediately after my ex left. We hadn't caught up in a while, and he's barely active on social media, so I had no idea what his situation was. 2 months after my ex left, D messaged me out of the blue. He'd seen that my relationship status on Facebook has changed, and he was checking if I was okay. I was honest with him about how bad the relationship had been, and he was pretty horrified. He also shared that he and his ex had split up a few months after their second child was born, because she had been financially and emotionally manipulative since their first child arrived, and after their second was born, she was on the verge of psychotic, so he made sure that she was getting the care that she needed for the sake of his children, but knew that he couldn't stay with her. Turns out they'd split only a few days before my ex and I did. D and I agreed to meet up, and the instant connection practically slapped me in the face the minute I saw him. 5 years without seeing each other, with all those pent-up feelings, all bubbled to the surface at once in that moment. And to my shock, he seemed to be flirting with me. Things escalated from there, especially when we both admitted that we had big feelings for each other. And the attraction was almost palpable, but we did agree that our friendship was the most important thing that we didn't want to lose again, and especially with us both having only come out of long-term relationships where children were involved, we would keep the physical aspect of things casual for a time and see how it went. Certainly no introducing each other to our respective children as being together or anything like that. But we both fell hard and fast for each other, and we knew that. So after a few months, we made things official. It all felt like a dream come true. It actually took me some time to adjust to how he treated me. He is, of course, an amazing partner, but I was so used to being treated like shit that this caught me off guard. He taught me how to love myself through loving me as much as he does. He taught me to stop blaming myself for my ex's abuse. He's been, from the moment he met them, amazing with my children. They decided on their own to call him Dad after a year because he was so present and good to all of us, and because my oldest has been on a campaign to get us married since she met him. And I can see what a wonderful dad he is to his own children, who I absolutely adore as well. I honestly couldn't believe, and still can't, most of the time now, that life can be like this. that the everyday mundane can feel like an adventure, and that loving security is the best feeling in the world. We talked about how we wanted our future to look, and we knew that we wanted to get married. We also knew that we'd like to have a child of our own, but this was highly unlikely due to some of my own fertility problems. So this was more of a wish than a plan. Then, just before Christmas last year, we found out that we're having a baby due this August. She is the biggest miracle, and the whole family is ecstatic and can't wait to meet our baby girl. Things are so good that it feels surreal at this point. And yes, of course, like every normal couple, we have disagreements. But they never escalate to arguments. I've never heard him shout or be truly angry. We just communicate before anything reaches the breaking point and solve things together. So that brings us today. About a year ago, Dee bought me a promise ring and had my engagement ring finger measured, just in case, at the same time. He's mysteriously gone to my mother-in-law's house to pick up some stuff and asked me if I'd like to go for a walk later, which is odd because we never really plan walks, we just go. He said he wants to walk around the local nature reserve, which coincidentally is where we had our first meetup 3 years ago and also our first kiss. He also paid for me to have my nails done a few days ago just because. Again, unusual, as normally I'll have my nails done a couple of times a year for my birthday and Christmas, and I'll just take myself as a gift or self-care. So there you go. Everything is adding up, and I really hope I'm not building myself up for nothing. I can't see any part of the rest of my life without this wonderful man in it. Thank you for reading if you've read this far, and sorry for the long post. I'm not really expecting anyone to read this, or to care. I just needed to blurt it out somewhere. In the comments, Ndiscoverable says, "Giggling and kicking my feet for you. Please come back and update us." And OP replies, "Thank you. I've been all giggly all day, and I've been by myself, so I must look crazy. We'll definitely update. He's not coming back for another couple of hours yet, and I don't know what to do with myself in the meantime." And now, onto the update. For the lovely, kind strangers who asked me to, he did it. We're engaged. He took me down the same route that we walked down 3 years ago, and we were walking for a while, so I was beginning to wonder if I was wrong. But then he started to get all nervous, and I realized that we were coming up to the bridge which looks over the water where we stopped and had our first kiss. It just felt like a much longer walk, because I'm heavily pregnant now, but we got there eventually, and he gave me a very nervous kiss, and then got down on one knee, said some truly lovely things, and showed me the absolutely gorgeous ring that he'd picked out. I struggled to say yes just because I was hormonally sobbing by this point, but we already knew what my answer would be. I feel like the luckiest woman on the planet. Oh, thank you for the amazing story to cut up all of the insane nonsense that we've been getting lately, OP. That was beautiful. I'm very glad to hear that you guys are engaged now. There is happy endings, not just the ones that you can get in Thailand, that are possible on this planet, guys. Do not give up hope. These stories that I read are not representative of the majority. Happy endings where you can kiss your pregnant wife on the bridge, where you first kissed 3 years ago, are in fact possible. So thank you for reinstating hope in humanity, OP. I hope you have a lovely and blessed marriage, and good luck with the kid going forward. You're gonna need it. Am I the asshole for getting a paternity test on my son who doesn't look like me? I'm a 29-year-old white guy. My wife is 30 and black. We have 2 kids, a 3-year-old girl and a 5-year-old boy. My wife got pregnant with our son early in our relationship. We'd only been together for a year. We got married because she got pregnant, and fortunately for us, we are actually happy. When my son was born, I accepted him as mine. However, I couldn't help noticing how little he looked like me. He is noticeably darker than my wife. He doesn't look half white. My family and my friends asked if I'm sure he's mine, and I had doubts, but I initially decided to trust my wife, as I loved my son regardless. When our son was 2, my wife had our daughter. I had no doubt that she's mine. She looks just like me. She even has my blue eyes. I never realized how powerful it is to know that a child is yours. I bonded with her easier because there wasn't the question of paternity dangling over our heads. My family bonded with her faster too. Her resemblance to me convinced me that my son is not mine. I tried to always treat them equally, as I see them both as my children, but I realized I'm beginning to resent my son. It felt unfair that I had to care for someone else's child. I also began to resent my wife because I felt that she had betrayed me. I finally got a paternity test in secret, and I was relieved to learn that my son was in fact mine. Genetics are weird. Anyways, that was 4 months ago, and my relationship with my wife and my son improved dramatically. I feel much closer to him now that I know he's mine. My wife and I have been so happy that we were talking about a third child. I confessed to my wife that I got a paternity test. I hated keeping the secret, and I thought she would understand given how much he doesn't look like me. She flipped out. She asked me if I ever doubted our daughter, and when I said no, she called me racist. It's not true. I didn't prefer my daughter because of her whiter features, I just knew that she was mine. She also said that I made our son feel unloved for no reason for all those years. I said that's bull. Even when I didn't believe my son was mine, I treated him as though he were. My wife says she wants to move out and take our children after the quarantine. It's been about a week and a half, and I'm still on the sofa. I hoped she would have calmed down by now, but things haven't changed. She's just so furious with me for not trusting her and for, in her eyes, denying my son because he's dark. She barely talks to me unless it's about the kids. I don't want to lose my family. Here is where I turn to you, Reddit. Is it so awful that I had doubts? I still took care of him. I don't understand why something like this is wrecking my marriage. I think she's overreacting. So am I the asshole? In the comments, Basketball Throw 910 says, "You married a black woman and for some reason got confused that one of your children ended up black. Please take a high school level biology course or something. You're the asshole." Yeah, your marriage is over. You neglected your son for years because you couldn't be bothered to do some research on genetics and just assumed your mixed-race kids would automatically look like the stereotype in your head. It was racist and paranoid and also led you to be a bad father. Why would she still want to be married to you? You're the asshole. You let yourself fester quietly for 5 years and whether you realize it or not, likely hurt your wife and son in the process, and then got the paternity test done in secret after your daughter came out looking like every Hollywood mixed baby. Whether you did it knowingly or not, the idea that the lighter-colored child was not only yours, but proof that your darker-skinned son is someone else's kid, is rooted in racist ideology. You're the asshole for so far as refusing to do the introspection necessary to figure this one out. You're also the asshole for the way that you're dismissing your wife's response to what you've done and why. First, instead of being open and honest about your concern from the beginning, with more than quote-unquote light comments about the boy's skin color, you kept quiet and essentially punished both your wife and your son with what sounds like a much chiller attitude than the one that your daughter got. Second, you got the paternity test done in secret and only went to your wife after you had made certain whether or not the boy is in fact yours. Instead of giving her the chance to prove herself to you, you waited until you could confront or present her with the truth. That's a coward's solution. Third, having already received those results and being relieved to have been wrong about your son, you seem to have expected your wife to immediately share in your joy and have absolutely no upset whatsoever. That isn't fair to her. She's her own human being, and she's just discovered the guy that she chose to sleep with, have children with, and marry hasn't trusted her at all these last 5 years. She has every right to be hurt and to express that hurt in whatever way that she needs to, even if that includes leaving you behind. Fourth, there are a lot of racist stereotypes involving interracial couples. The darker-skinned baby being born to white parents joke is only one of them. Most, if not all of those stereotypes, center in on the extremely racist idea that black people are sexually promiscuous, disloyal, and only ever seek to take advantage of white people. It's extremely likely that your wife has been on the receiving end of a lot of comments rooted in those stereotypes. Probably a lot more than you will ever know. And now you've just proven to her that she has no ally in you. You tested your son because he was so much darker than your daughter. You let yourself doubt your wife's loyalty to you for 5 years rather than trying to have an actual serious conversation with her. The man that she chose is no better than anyone else who has ever had a hurtful thing to say about your relationship. Do you have any idea the amount of pain and betrayal that she has to be feeling right now? How dare you? Truly, honestly, how dare you? How dare you do this and expect her to be okay? How dare you do this and come running to a sea of strangers to validate you when it rightfully blows up in your face? You need to do a good deal of soul searching and find a way to try to make this better, and not for your sake. I guess my take on this was, what came to mind initially was that the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but did he even have good intentions here? It seemed like, on the surface, there were good intentions to be like, I'm just gonna do this paternity test to figure out whether my son is mine or not and put this to bed. But as that comment pointed out, he had a severe lack of self-awareness, and I guess spatial awareness, in that he didn't realize how much he was hurting his wife in everything that he had done up until this point, and then past that point as well. Yeah, he just assumed that she'd be cool with it. He didn't realize that he was being insanely racist and just perpetuating stereotypes. There were much better ways to have a more honest and more open conversation about this right from the jump. It's crazy that you can actually trust your wife to be open and honest with you from the start and have these difficult conversations without perpetuating racist stereotypes and destroying your partner's trust in you in the meantime. But instead, he chose to bottle all of those emotions, all of those questions, and, sit on them for 5 years. I don't blame her for feeling the way that she does. He did kind of just destroy this relationship with that. I'd be very surprised if she took him back after this. I don't expect this relationship to work out. I don't think you can trust your partner after a betrayal of this magnitude. It really is a betrayal. So yeah, you're the asshole, OP. And now, on to the update. After being ripped to shreds on my first post, I didn't plan to ever log into this account again. Some recent events have persuaded me to update you all on what's been going on, and I'll just get right to it. My wife and I are separated currently. I moved out so that she and the kids could stay in our home. I'm staying with my parents for now. I don't get to see my kids as often as I would like to. When I have a more stable living situation, we'll have joint custody of them. It's been very hard on me and the kids. I talk to them on the phone every night, and they both keep asking when I'm coming home. It breaks my heart that I can't answer that question. My daughter is taking it the worst. I feel awful that her world had been turned upside down by her own parents. I miss my family. I miss seeing my kids every day. I miss my wife. Our relationship has been put into limbo for now. She says she needs space to process and doesn't know if she'll be able to forgive me. I've apologized in every way that I know how to, and at this point, I just have to give her the space that she wants and hope that she calms down. It would be horrible for us to throw away the life that we built. If separating has been this hard on the kids, divorce is going to shatter them. She seems open to seeking couples counseling, and it gives me some hope that we can work past this. As for Reddit, I admit that I didn't want to hold myself accountable before. I couldn't see how my actions were subconsciously harmful to my son. It was never my intention to be racist, but I did treat my son differently due to his skin color when you strip it down to its roots. I realized how bad I fucked up when I felt ashamed, thinking my wife had probably told her family why we separated. They used to think really highly of me. Now they all probably think that I'm a racist. I have no one to blame for that but myself. With all the craziness going on in the world, I know that I need to be more aware of my actions. My kids deserve to have their family be a safe haven from racism. It scares me thinking about the type of world that I'll send them out into, where they could be racially profiled in most places. I can't imagine it if my son were on the news instead of one of those other poor guys. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that, OB? What the fuck? I'll never let anything get in the way of my relationship with him again. Thanks all. Again, is this an example of the road to hell is paved with good intentions? What the hell did that mean? I can't imagine if my son were on the news instead of one of those other poor guys. Why are you calling them poor guys? That's crazy. Also, this first post and update were written obviously 2020 and 2021, so I wonder who he's alluding to there. And now onto the last update, titled, An Update for Those Who Still Message Me Asking How Things Turned Out. It's been over a year and a half since I used this account. I stopped replying to PMs a long time ago because, to put it bluntly, I felt like shit when I was reminded of what caused me to make this account in the first place, even though most of the PMs that I got weren't bad. I was shocked but flattered to see dozens of messages still coming in as recently as a few months ago. I want to give an update on my life for those people. I'm single. My ex-wife and I had our divorce finalized early in 2022. We'd gotten back together for almost a year after I told her about the paternity test. I made promises to be a better husband, and I believe that I kept those promises, even though it didn't work. Unfortunately, things were not the same despite both of our best efforts, including months of counseling. Couples counseling and private counseling for her. The fact of the matter is that she could never forgive me enough to trust me, so it was never going to work out. Towards the end, she didn't even want to be intimate with me in any way, so much that I slept most nights on the couch or in my kids' rooms. We became roommates. I would have kept trying to fix things forever, but she was willing to face the fact that it was over way before I could. I still have a lot of love for her, and I think I will forever. I'm not ashamed to say that I haven't gotten over how devastating it was, even though it's my fault. I developed depression badly, which I know some people would say that I deserve. I even had to quit my job due to it. I still miss her, and even more, I miss what we had together. I dread the day that I will hear that she is in a relationship with someone else, because I know it will come someday. I have an apartment to myself now. It took a while for me to get on my feet. My kids, now 8 male, almost 6 female, spend every other weekend with me, and I get them 50-50 when there are breaks from school. My son is very athletic and is very good at soccer. As he's gotten older, I've seen more of myself in him than I did in his youth. He hasn't heard about the paternity test, and I hope he never will. He's a great kid. I work hard to make up for the time lost when I was too anxious to get close to him. My daughter is still my mini-me. She loves me almost as much as I love her. She's athletic too. She loves gymnastics and soccer. I think a lot about how if I hadn't needed a paternity test, they might have another sibling. Not a good thing to dwell on. My life went in a direction that I didn't expect. It's not perfect, but it's getting better every day. I have a lot to be grateful for, and I remind myself of that when it's hard. My kids are all that matters. Thanks for caring. In comments, Hollering Corgis says, quote, she also said that I made our son feel unloved for no reason for all those years. I said that's bull. Even when I didn't believe my son was mine, I treated him as though he were. In another quote, anyway, that was 4 months ago and my relationship with my wife and son improved dramatically. I feel much closer to him now that I know that he's mine. My wife and I have been so happy that we were talking about a 3rd child. Well, OP, which is it? If he was treating the kid like his own, how did a paternity test improve their relationship? That's what I noticed too. His wife definitely noticed the different treatment and now had an explanation for why it happened. Really shows how he's in his own little bubble, oblivious to reality. He still can't accept that he plays favorites and is a worse father to his son. I don't doubt that this is why their marriage failed to recover. He still doesn't take full accountability. He says both parents upended their children's lives. He still blames the situation on him needing the test when he never needed one, and it was a completely unforced error. Quote, I think a lot about how if I hadn't needed a paternity test, they might have another sibling. Literally nothing else he said in any of his posts was about anything other than why we should pity him. It's still about how this affects him and makes him feel, and not about how what he did made his family feel. She had personal therapy, but he did not. Interesting. All of his posts were me, me, me. Except the part where we tore our family apart. No, my guy, you did that yourself. This kind of bullshit is so damn annoying. I'm biracial, and my grandmother was absolutely livid that I didn't look more Latino. Even disowned my dad for not cutting me off. Real piece of work, that one. Ironically, while still on the outs, my grandpa on my mum's side was far more accepting, though the others just saw me as a bit of a mutt. German Catholics versus Mexican Jehovah's Witnesses. I was destined to be an atheist. Yeah, it still looks like he's not taking accountability for his own actions, and I really feel like you can just see on the horizon a complete breakdown of the relationship with him and his kids once they figure out the truth. Run from it, avoid it, destiny arrives all the same. I think he's still living in his own bubble, and he's not done the work to recognize the damage that he's done and own it. I still think that he's in denial, even after all of this time. Obviously, I'm not him and I'm not his wife. I'd love to get the wife's perspective on all of this and see things from her eyes, because it definitely seems like he is viewing everything with rose-colored glasses of delusion. This was some damn delusional posting if I've ever seen it. I wish him all the best, but I think, the second wave of his life being torn apart is about 5 to 10 years away when the kids start asking questions, and someone has to be truthful with the kids. And I really think when that day comes, it's going to be so hard to repair the damage between him and his son. I say good luck to you, OP, for that one. I do not ever want to be in your position. That is a personal hell that I wish never to be a part of. Good luck, and thank you for the story, and thank you for the updates. Our next post is by a deleted account, and it's titled, "Friend asked if I could babysit their newborn." My friend, 23, and his girlfriend, 21, are having a child. He's like a brother to me, and they made me their godmother. The baby's not even here yet, and he asked if I could babysit his child for the July 4th weekend, as he's going out of town with his girlfriend and family. The girlfriend is due soon, expected due date June 25th. I told him that I'll let him know if I can next week, but I think it's quite strange to go on a trip just after having a baby. I feel like they should take time to establish a routine and bond with their newborn. It's really weird why anyone in his family would even support going on a trip knowing he'll have a baby fresh out of the womb. I'm not one to speak on someone's parenting, but from the moment that he told me he was having a child, he didn't take it very seriously and tends to have unrealistic expectations. I'm not doing anything on the July 4th weekend, as I was just in a car accident a month ago and still mentally healing, but this shouldn't affect my ability of taking care of the newborn. It's more so that newborns need to eat every 2 to 3 hours and need extra care during this time. If I say no, I feel like this would deem me as not dependable to babysit in the future. Bro, what is this situation? Jesus! His girlfriend definitely knows. It's shocking that a new mother would be so willing to leave her newborn after giving birth, but I don't think she's thinking clearly either. She seems naive and goes with whatever he wants to do in order to satisfy him. I would not be comfortable with doing this if I was her. They both weren't ready from what I've observed. He got her pregnant only after 3 months of knowing her. He constantly vented to me about their relationship problems, and after a while, I started to ignore it because he kept pursuing her. The relationship seems toxic, and they don't understand how much a child affects their daily lives and won't know until the child is here. He also says he lives paycheck to paycheck and the girlfriend doesn't work, but yet he constantly wants to go on trips. It's upsetting when people have babies and they're not emotionally or financially prepared. It affects the child the most in the end. I'll be reaching out to my friend to discuss my concerns. I think he's still having a hard time processing that he's going to be a father, and I've told him on multiple occasions that when you're a parent, you no longer come first. He has yet to understand this. I can only hope that he starts being more mature once the child arrives. In the comments, you're not the asshole. Quote, although I'm the godmum, I wasn't expecting to babysit so soon. Godmother does not mean on-demand babysitter. Quote, is it typical for people to do this after having a baby? No, it isn't. The mother will still be healing, and a weekend away from a brand new baby is probably the last thing that she wants. She probably doesn't plan to still go on this trip and doesn't even know that you were asked to do that. Quote, I'm not one to speak on someone's parenting. Then I'll do it. He sucks and is in for a huge reality check. OP replies, it was definitely his idea because this is not the only trip that he planned for this year. He's also planned other trips with our friend group, but I turned them down as 1, he should be focusing on being a dad, and 2, I'd rather save money. I think that once she gives birth, she'll probably change her mind about going on the trip, but she seems to just go with whatever he says. Another commenter says, not the asshole. I think they're in for a rude awakening about the responsibility of being a parent. The idea that they'll be fine to travel a week after she delivers is wild. I would certainly say no, but I would also ask them if they've talked to their doctor about traveling separate from a 1-week-old child. OP says, I'll be expressing to him my concerns about this because his girlfriend does not need to be on a trip right after birth. He never took the pregnancy serious, and now that she's about to give birth, I think he's still having a hard time with accepting that being a father comes first. When asked, has OP been able to communicate with a girlfriend about her feelings of the trip? OP says, the sad part is, I don't even communicate with his girlfriend. We never established a friendship. They barely knew each other when she got pregnant. His girlfriend and I do speak when we see each other, but it's nothing more than a hello. I've tried having conversations with her when I see her, but it's mainly small talk, which is why I concluded that we don't communicate. When my friend and I hang out, it's also just me, him, and our friend group, so we don't see his girlfriend as much. I was just as shocked when he asked me to be godmother because wouldn't she have someone else in mind, like a sister or a best friend to be the godmother? And then my friend told me that she knows he wants to be the godmum and that she's okay with it. I also discovered that sometimes the mum and father each choose their own set of godparents. Damn. Damn, what a situation. And in this economy, acting like this, that's crazy. That is so wild. But unfortunately, I've been shown personally that there are groups of mothers like this everywhere. And unfortunately also, those groups of mothers in this area that I've been shown, a lot of them were on drugs, surprisingly. They're just in group chats, venting about how, oh my god, I got pregnant at 16, I got pregnant at 18, I have my 3rd child at 19, and I'm also on drugs right now. Like, oh my god, you think these people are dysfunctional? There are so many layers of dysfunction to go through. This is crazy. And the fact that they're on drugs while they're also pregnant too, what the hell? I would say at least OP and the people in this situation are like above 20 and they should be more set up and they should be more mature, but I just don't believe it. Look at their actions. They're just like, yeah, first week out from having a baby, we're going on a holiday. Here you go, godmother. Look after the newborn baby. I don't care that you've been in a car crash. Oh my god, this is nightmare material. I can't deal with these people. What in the holy hell of dysfunction is going on? This child is set up for failure from the start. I know we shouldn't throw the term around so lightly and flippantly and whatnot, but like, please find this child a better family to go to before it's too late. I say this in all seriousness. This child needs a better start in life than these two. I am so sad on that child's behalf. But also, I wonder if I'm in OP's shoes, what do I say to this couple? Do I yell at them and say, no, I'm not looking after the child? You guys should stay home? Like, I feel like that's the right thing to do, but if you aren't the one to look after it and ensure the child is safe, who's going to look after the kid? How is this kid going to be protected? Like, I don't know what the right thing to do here. This sucks. Also, for context on like why I knew that these groups of people existed, it was a Snapchat group chat that my friend had shown me. She's currently a part of it, and she filled me in on the details, and I wanted to lose my mind when I learnt those details. There's some crazy things that the average person is not exposed to. And now, onto the update. So I recently posted about my friend, 23 male, and his girlfriend, 21 female, asking me to babysit their newborn who would have been less than a week old while they go out of town for the July 4th weekend. I'm not sure if many of you recall this, as I have deleted the post in fear that he may see the post, but I thought I would provide you all with an update. He and his girlfriend were in a car wreck on the... What? Bro. He and his girlfriend were in a car wreck on the 21st of June, 2025. This is also the same day that I talked to him about my concerns with babysitting the newborn. I did tell him that women need to heal after giving birth, and what if the baby comes earlier or later than the expected due date of the 25th of June? He told me his girlfriend said she'll be good, and they didn't think that it will be an issue going on the trip. Shortly after that phone call, they got into a wreck. My friend lost control of the vehicle while driving on the highway and hit the barrier. No other vehicles were involved. Thankfully, they're okay, and the girlfriend had an early labor. She gave birth to a healthy baby girl on the 23rd of June, born 2 days early. When I said the baby could come earlier, I didn't mean it in this way, but thank goodness they're all okay. Bro, I am mouth agape. What is wrong with these people? It's safe to say that they will not be going on the trip anymore. My friend was driving his brother's car, and the brother did not have car insurance, so my friend has to pay out of pocket to pay for repairs. Although this may cause a financial strain and may be very stressful since they also have to deal with a newborn, it could have been way worse. It's crazy how life could change in a matter of seconds. Oh my god, once again, I hope this life never finds me. This is insane. In the comments, when asked is OP's friend likely to have a substance abuse problem that could have affected his decisions or actions, OP says, no, at least not that I know of. He's just one of those people that don't think about the long-term effects of his actions. He's a good guy, but just needs to make better decisions, and I try to encourage him to do better, but there's only so much I can do. Another commenter says, wow, what idiot thinks it's okay or even possible to leave a newborn with a babysitter in the first weeks? That's insane, and it shows they've not been reading up very well about newborn care. I hope they'll do a bit more research and learning about caring for a newborn. This also should have been a hard no from UOP. Good to hear they're okay, and hope they will grow as parents in the future. Tell me you're a pregnant first-time parent without telling me you're a pregnant first-time parent. A week postpartum? Yeah, I'll be fine going on a vacation. Baby will come exactly on time. Please watch my newborn. Oof. Please keep an eye out for the baby and potential neglect and mistreatment. These people sound like absolute idiots. Clearly too young and immature to go through with parenthood. All I can say is that if anyone had left their newborn kid with me so they could go on a getaway, I would have called Child Protective Services the second they were gone. I don't care if the friendship is lost over it. I would continue to foster that baby if allowed, and by no way I would ever let such selfish people near that baby. And there it is, there is the solution to this problem. Take the baby, call CPS on them, and get that child a better life. I very much agree with that. And OP saying, I don't think that there was a substance abuse issue. I doubt that. I think there is a substance abuse issue going on here that they're probably very good at hiding. And I don't care if you say, Marky, ooh, that's a stretch to make. That's a crazy accusation. I don't care. It comes with the territory with people like this. They're young, dumb, and, probably on substances. They haven't earned my good graces. They're very happy to just abandon and neglect their newborn baby for a holiday. That's just insane. Bro lost control of the car on the highway. That is crazy. That is insane that he would do something like that. He risked his life, his girlfriend's life, and the baby's life. It's just, none of this is okay. I hate this situation. I hope that OP can do something about this and protect that child, but I guess we'll never know. This is just one of the things that happens in life, and it's like watching a wildfire burn that most people can do nothing about. I hope that OP does an anonymous CPS call on them and something happens, but we'll never know. Thank you for the story, and thank you for the update, OP. God damn. Am I the asshole here for not allowing my future sister-in-law to use our neighborhood pool? So, some background. My girlfriend, I'm proposing next month, and I currently live in an apartment in a very nice neighborhood. We're fortunate enough to also have access to the clubhouse pool, which we frequently go to cool off after we've been working all day. For a bit of information on my girlfriend's sister, she's a little bit wild and is known for excessive public drinking and causing scenes wherever she goes. Anyway, on to the story. Last Monday, my girlfriend got home from work and said that her sister wanted to go to the pool while she was at work. Her sister doesn't really work, only 1 to 2 days a week, and still lives at home. And their conversation looked like this. Girlfriend says, "How are you going to get into the pool without a car to get there and without our key card?" Sister says, "I'll just Uber and I can look around our parents' house for that spare key that you gave them." Girlfriend says, "I think they lost it, but you can try." Now, it was a short conversation, but a few things. 1. Her sister is a known klepto who steals and pawns stuff in order to go to bars. It's happened multiple times at her parents' house where she has stolen things to make money. 2. She doesn't have a car because she's crashed 5 and cannot have a license for another few years. 3. She's only been in our apartment when either my girlfriend is there or we both are for reason number 1 and has invited random people over while we were there without us knowing. For the reasons above, I expressed to my girlfriend that I don't think we should allow her into our apartment alone, without one of us present, as well as we could get in trouble with the HOA or complex if she were to get into shit with anyone or anything which could cause issues for us down the road. Along with this, I also said that we need to have a conversation with her parents to let them know to find the key and give it back to us, or to hide it in a spot that her sister would never look. My girlfriend kind of shrugged it off and said that it's not a big deal, she can go to the pool, it's not like anything would happen, and we wouldn't get in trouble if anything were to happen. Oh, talk about downplaying the situation. I feel like if I keep pushing it, it may cause issues between me and my future sister-in-law, but selfishly, I don't want her around our stuff, but can't help feeling like an asshole. Am I in the wrong? Edit. I feel I gotta say this because I did paint her in a bad light unintentionally. My girlfriend is nothing like her sister, and that's why I love her. She is hardworking, smart, and genuinely a one-of-a-kind person. As for her family, excluding her sister, they are all hardworking, genuine people, so I'm not sure exactly what happened in the 3-year age difference between the two. For the most part, we're on the same page about her sister. They've had a rocky relationship with her, and she wants to believe that she's changing for the better. But I think it's getting harder and harder for my girlfriend to think that. She's cut all contact with her at the beginning of the year, which was a whole thing, but now she's wanting to be the bigger person and try to fix what she can. In the comments, Creative Carrot says, "Dude, this sounds like a nightmare. Not the asshole, set boundaries. If the girlfriend can't support and respect them, as well as understand the financial liability that her sister causes, do not propose. Explain where you're coming from, explain this is a hard boundary, and if she cannot respect it and you, then you need to think about the future." OP replies, "Let me preface, my girlfriend is usually on my side when it comes to her sister, as they've had their own issues, but it's just one small thing that we don't see eye to eye with. We're still talking through it all. And overall, I think we both think the same thing regarding this. It's just different to my girlfriend because that's her big sister who is her family, and family is very important to her as a side note." Creative Carrot replies, "Family or not, big sister who acts like a child or not, liability is liability. You and the girlfriend are on the lease, not the sister. If the sister does something, who is legally and financially responsible? Who will the management company hold responsible? Some rando or the people that they have a contract with?" OP replies, "Good point. I texted her when we're gonna sit down and talk about it tonight. I'll update you all on what happens. Hopefully I won't have to return the ring." Wild Black Hat says, "Also, if there's a risk she takes the key at her parents' house, you need to get that key back yesterday." As someone who worked in property management for both apartments and an HOA, I hated when families would show up to use the facilities without the actual resident, and then get butthurt when asked to leave. If a resident gave their keys to a non-resident and were not present when using the facilities, it would mean that they would lose their privileges. Had one warning. Second was never again. My boss trespassed a teenage boy and his friends for coming without parents. Rules are rules. She's your guest, you are taking responsibility for her. You're responsible for what she does. You could lose your privileges, and I bet if you read your lease or HOA rules, it'll have something stated in there about the use of facilities, which may cause you to be evicted. OP says, this is great insight into it. Thank you. If this is one of those pool rules, this is a perfect reason for you to say no to the pool usage. Also get your locks changed. Bro, how do people like OP exist? I don't get it. Do people not have survival instincts? I guess he has some better survival instincts and wariness about the situation than his girlfriend, but oh my god, he's like, whoa, I'm sorry guys. I didn't mean to paint the kleptomaniac in a bad light. That's my bad. Here's my apology. Oh my god, she's burnt you guys so many times. At what point do you just cut her off completely until she shows that she can be better? Like, you just kept bringing up instances where she's done something abhorrent, something that shows she can never be trusted again. So many times! And you're just like, you know what? Maybe we should let her in and use the facilities. I feel like an asshole for saying no to her. Guys, I'm really feeling bad about this, and I might have to call off the engagement. What? Seriously, what is going on? I feel like I'm going crazy. Someone should not have to do so many mental gymnastics in one post. How are people this all over the place and scattered? No, you're not the asshole for not allowing your future sister-in-law to use the pool. No, this should not cause a breakdown in your engagement. You would expect, if you're going to marry this woman, she's going to see reason. Hopefully, but, if she takes her sister's side for this one, maybe there's reason to hold off on the engagement for a bit. And now, on to the update. First off, I just want to say thank you for everyone's advice, especially those who have been in a similar situation. So last night, my girlfriend got home from work and we had a conversation about the whole ordeal. I started it off with how many of you suggested, and I brought up a copy of our lease agreement as well as HOA club and house rules. In both, it clearly states that any guest who uses the facilities must be accompanied by the owner of the lease. Failure to do this may lead to immediate eviction or financial liability. After pointing this out, my girlfriend said that she understood that part, and that she's been thinking about how she acted during this whole thing. She went on to explain that for once, she just wanted to treat her sister as her big sister, and not a kid that constantly needed watching. Well, I guess after giving her examples of ways that could backfire on us, the sister is already thin trust with us, she agreed with me, and we decided that it would be best to do the following. 1. Try and find the spare key from her parents' house and retrieve it. My girlfriend is going today to do this. 2. Contact our landlords and have our locks changed. This works out because our front door locks are starting to stick. And 3. Set clear boundaries with the sister. This includes not being here unless one of us is present, no invitation of random people to come over, and if that is done, then she has to leave, and if anything is not followed, then contact will be cut. My girlfriend already sent her a text message about this, and I told her that I can be the bad guy if she'd like me to. Her mom actually called me today and said that what I did was a very adult way to go about it all, and she appreciates me also standing up for my girlfriend to her sister. The biggest thing that I think also helped was putting this in future perspective with my girlfriend. I laid out a scenario of when we, hopefully, have a house one day and kids as well. Would we really let someone who has a known alcohol problem, as well as issues with stealing and safety, watch our children alone? She started to cry and said no. I explained to her that's why we need hard boundaries now so that they are not crossed in the future when we have bigger responsibilities. I have a few other things to say, so I might make an edit, but again, thank you to everyone for their advice. You really put it in perspective for us. OP did not make an edit, unfortunately. In the comments, Creative Carrot says, I've been waiting for an update to see how things went. While I understand why she would want her sister to be a big sister, I'm glad to know that having an adult conversation worked and she did not respond out of anger for you making extremely valid and adult points. Kudos for offering to be the bad guy. It's a crappy role to play, but an important one sometimes. It sounds like no reason to return the ring if she sticks to it. With her sister, tough love, which is still love, is needed, and that doesn't mean your girlfriend can't support and love her. But boundaries need to be clear and held to, otherwise big sister will continue to do whatever she wants to do, thinking there will never be consequences for her actions. Hopefully this is all real and not a farm account, because the ending seems good, but you did a lot of posting yesterday and some were mod deleted, so... OP replies, "Lol, yeah, I saw that. I did create a new account, but it's because I made my first Reddit account when I was like 10. I was dumb and made it very easy to identify myself. Never felt I actually needed strangers' advice until now, so made a new one. Thanks for those words. And yeah, I almost said exactly the same that you did. Tough love is still a type of love. Thanks again." Yeah, it's good to see someone finally hold her sister accountable instead of just brushing it off. Stepping up like that takes guts, especially when it risks tension in the relationship. If she stays firm, there's no reason the engagement should be on shaky ground. OP replies, "Yeah, I think that she should stay firm on the boundaries. She's been burnt before by her sister, so hopefully this is a new chapter in it all." You know what, good for them. And I don't think I should be advocating all the time for cutting off people like I said there. I do think that there are situations in which giving them tough love and boundaries to stick to is definitely the go if you can trust them to stick to those boundaries. Cutting off can be saved for when they still do not respect those boundaries and show they cannot be trusted to be better people. OP saying she's been burnt by her sister before is a bit of an understatement given the amount of times she's been burnt. I really feel like this sister was just normalizing it and becoming numb to it all, so much so that she's like, if I just ignore it, it'll eventually get better and go away. Like, come on guys. Let's be serious for a second. Sister-in-law is a kleptomaniac, definitely stole things from your apartment while you left her in there alone, and invited strangers who could also be stealing things in your apartment as well, and you're just brushing it off like it's no huge big deal and that you didn't really need boundaries for that. That situation alone is like 100 steps past the point of acceptability. None of that is okay. None of that should have ever happened in the first place. Please let this final step on the road that you're at be the one where you both grow a spine together and now actually have boundaries in your life, because it sounds like you didn't have any boundaries at all before this. Thank you for the story, OP. I wish you two the best of luck going forward. Our next post is by user My Dad Died 2019, and it's titled, "Would I be the asshole if I went to a funeral that I'm not invited to? I don't really know where to start, but my dad died. He, my mum, and 3 out of 4 of my siblings stopped talking to me about 7 years ago because I decided to leave the Mormon church. That's literally all I did. I wasn't vocal about my disbelief, I didn't try to get them to see my way, I just had my name removed from the church records, and they decided not to talk to me besides to send me talks from their prophet about how I'm not going to be in heaven with them. I still love my family very deeply, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss them every day and would probably just have pretended I still believed and stayed in the church if I knew that I would be disowned by them. I got a frickin' text this morning from my sister saying that my dad died last Saturday and was doing me a courtesy by telling me in person so I wouldn't find out through Facebook. I asked when the funeral was, and I got a call from my uncle that went like this. You aren't invited to the funeral. Don't show up and embarrass your family and cause your mother any more grief. I say, that's not fair. He was... End of call. And now I'm being sent texts from my other siblings saying that I can always see Dad again one day if I come back to the church, and I just don't know what to do. I'm just kind of heartbroken. I know I wasn't his favorite person when he had died, but for goodness sakes, I'm still his daughter. He was my dad. He taught me how to ride a bike and to cook and how to shoot a gun. He was there through my first breakup and when I graduated and when I moved into my first apartment. I still love him. I had hopes of reconciliation and had dreamed of him walking me down the aisle one day, but now I can't even say goodbye to them because I decided that I don't believe in their God? The funeral is Friday and I really want to be there. I'm grieving too. Would I be the asshole if I went? In the comments, info. How does your extended family, his family, feel about it? Was it your brother's dad that said you shouldn't go? Or your mum's? OP replies, it was my mother's brother. Her side of the family cut me off. I'm still in touch with my father's side since they're not Mormon and don't care if I am or not, and regularly see my cousins. I haven't talked to my grandparents yet about this because I don't want to burden them with this yet. I haven't told them my dad stopped talking to me, and I don't think he told them either. Mirianda says, "Not the asshole, I'm so sorry." I'm assuming that the funeral will be held at the temple, which could mean unpleasantness for you if someone takes exception to your presence. You have to decide what you're willing to risk by attending, because it's likely that someone would make a scene or be otherwise unpleasant, which could turn an already difficult day into a real trauma for you. My sincere condolences on your loss. OP replies, "The service will be held at his ward chapel, and the burial will be at the local cemetery. I'm almost certain if I go, that one of my older siblings will have something to say to me. That's why I'm not sure if I should go." B. Pine says, "Years down the line, what would you regret the most? Having an argument with family who cut you off who you already have no relationship with, or missing the last moment to say goodbye to your father?" Back up to the post, there's an edit. "First, I want to thank you all for the advice and kind words. It really did help. I called my brother before his flight yesterday, and he encouraged me to go to my grandparents' house and talk to them. There's a lot of stuff surrounding my dad's death that I didn't know about, and it plays a big role in why my mum and family hate me even more now and don't want me at the funeral. My dad had been diagnosed with thyroid cancer in June. He talked to my grandma and grandpa about me and what had happened. I guess he had been against cutting me off, but did it because my mum ultimately said that it was her or me. He talked to them about wanting to reconnect with me because he didn't want to die on bad terms. This caused a fight with my parents, and they argued about it up until last week. My dad decided he didn't care if my mum left him and started staying at my grandparents' house. He was on his way to my place when he was hit by a drunk driver and killed. So my mum and family ultimately blame me for his death. Last night was a hard night for me, and I'll admit that I partly blame myself too. My dad's sister is letting me stay with her and ride with her and my grandparents to the funeral. My dad's family has been very kind to me this past 24 hours, and I'm glad that I'll have them to lean on during the funeral. I don't think my mum will make a scene at the funeral if I'm with my aunt. She is scared of her, but my brothers and sisters might. My big brother's flight comes in soon, and he and I already talked about going together to the wake that my dad's side is hosting. I'm hoping, since it's at a bar, that none of my Mormon family will be there, and I can be surrounded by people who I love and remember my dad. Honestly, I was still torn about going because I do feel a little bit guilty about his death, but he wanted to spend the rest of his life with me in it. So I'll definitely be at his funeral. Damn, that is pretty soul-crushing to know that he did want to reconnect and he was on his way. And this is why we need the death penalty for drunk driving. Just kidding. No, we don't need the death penalty, but it's situations like this where I question why we even give drunk drivers licenses again. Because the fault is entirely on the drunk driver in this instance for causing OP as much harm as they have. I don't know if we suspend their license for life, but I really do think there needs to be harsher punishments than we already have to prevent drunk driving from occurring. That to me is the real culprit in this situation. You know, obviously, OP's family cutting him off is not good either. But that is the slightly lesser of two evils in this instance. I, for one, don't agree with the way that Mormons just cut you off when you leave the faith. That's completely wrong, and I don't understand why it's a practice that continually gets pushed by them. Well, like, I do understand it. It's obvious what they're trying to do with that. It's still incredibly messed up. But regardless, that's just my opinion against the world's. OP is not the asshole here. The drunk driver and his entire family that cut him off are all pieces of shit for what they have done here, and they should feel bad. They should feel bad for doing that. Like, how dare you say he's not allowed to come to his own dad's funeral? That behavior is genuinely repulsive, and we should bring back public shaming for that. I really do believe that. And now, on to the update. First, I want to say thanks, because even though this isn't an advice subreddit, I received good advice on my original post, and it really helped me reach out to my dad's side of the family. I did end up going to my dad's service and funeral. My aunt took me along with my grandparents. Thanks to all the ex-Mormons who told me what I should expect at the funeral, and if I hadn't known what was going to happen, I would have probably been even more of a mess than I already was. My mom and her family were not happy to see me. She didn't even talk to me during the funeral, which I guess is a lot better than her yelling at me. My older brother sat with me and my dad's side of the family during the funeral and was my support through the whole thing. He and my grandparents even encouraged me to get up and share stories about my dad when the time came for people to give final words. The wake was nice. I guess my dad would sneak out and get a drink with my uncle every now and then, so they had their wake at their favorite bar. My brother supporting me through everything and realizing he would have my back, even when it came to our mum, means the world to me. I'm still trying to process his death, especially since he died on his way to see me. I've started seeing a therapist at my brother and aunt's suggestion. I was in a really bad place for a few weeks after the funeral, and it's really been a lot of help. Yesterday was my dad's birthday, and my aunt and I drove up to visit his grave. It was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, but it was hard nonetheless. Thanks for all the help and advice. In the comments, Cowgirl says, "I'm so sorry for your loss. It's not easy to lose a parent. I do have a question though. What do you mean when you say that you would have been a mess if people hadn't told you what to expect from a Mormon funeral? From what I know, they're like most other funerals. The service is held in a church, followed by graveside services, and then food at the church or some other location. I'm confused by your statement." OP replies, "Well, this is the only Mormon funeral that I've been to, but there was a large portion dedicated to the plan of salvation and how this is all a part of God's plan. My old bishop gave me an impromptu talk about my dad because the Spirit compelled him to. I felt like it was mostly directed at me. It talked about him being sad in his last days because of a torn family, then encouraged all of us to come unto Christ. Then my younger siblings talked about being a part of his eternal family and seeing him in the next life, which won't include me since I'm not a member anymore." Coming at you at the funeral is crazy work. Philosopher asks, "Your dad was a Mormon but had a favorite bar?" And OP says, "Yeah, I guess he would go with my uncle without telling anyone. It was their secret until he died." So the mum was full Mormon, whereas it sounds like the dad was Mormon because I have to keep my wife happy. I'm so sad for OP that they didn't get to talk with the dad before he died. Yeah, if dad's side of the family was still talking to and supporting OP, it sounds like dad married in but didn't really believe. Especially if he was sneaking out for a pint with his brother every now and then. Which makes it worse. If he's sneaking out for a pint, surely he could manage the same for OP. It's crazy how when he finally realized that after 7 years, it led to him dying. I swear if one more person tells me that Mormons don't practice shunning, I'll refer them to this post. Shunning does happen in the Mormon church. I'm ex-Mormon and I've witnessed it myself. Let me repeat, the Corporation of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a cult whose members do participate in shunning. Not all of them, but enough of them that it absolutely counts. And Linen Lee says, "Yeah, there's a reason ex-Mormons throw around the word cult so freely. Most Mormons aren't like this, but Utah County and rural parts of Utah and Idaho are really, really bad. As much as the members don't want to hear it, the general authorities, highest-ranked church leaders, are as well. They just have a really good PR/legal team, so they usually stay out of trouble with their backwards-ass memos. I'm an ex-Mormon from Utah County, and OP's story was basically my worst nightmare. When I removed my records, I got the months of emails with guilt-trippy sermons too. I wasn't disowned, but it was obvious that I was considered a lost cause. It's been about 10 years since I left. My parents have mellowed out a lot, and most of my other siblings have also left the church, but my relationship with my parents never really recovered. It sounds unfair, but that's a pretty typical experience for the first mover. The church sucks in my opinion. I held my tongue at the moment, but I want to say it here. Killia Curry's comment, "It's crazy how when he finally realized that after 7 years it led him to dying, not doing the same for OP, sneaking out for a pint." I was going to say, damn, God works in mysterious ways, huh? Because, that's insane. The one time that he finally broke it after 7 years, God sent a drunk driver his way. You just couldn't make this one up. Sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. But no. Really. I'm glad OP was able to go to the funeral and able to be surrounded by a support system that saved him from the brunt of the hit that he received from his family. For them, in their final words at the funeral, to point him out and publicly shame him is some nasty work. That is truly evil. Oh yeah, we're all gonna see him in the next life, except you. Except you, sitting in the front row right there. You're gonna burn in hell, and you're not gonna see Dad, because you don't deserve to. And we all hate you. I'm saying this at his funeral, guys. Who's gonna stop me? Like, wow. I can't imagine how crushing that would be on OP's behalf to hear that. Thinking like, even at his funeral, you're going to attack me in front of everyone. You guys are the worst. I hate you. And even if those siblings were to defect one day, I wonder if I could ever bring myself to talk to them again. That, as well as everything else that they had done previously, to shame the dad, to blame the dad's death on OP, I genuinely don't think I could find it in myself to extend an olive branch and forgive them for that. That would take a long time. Who knows if that's ever going to happen, but that is a hypothetical situation that is potentially going to happen in the future with OP. But we'll see about it if and when that does happen. Otherwise, thank you for the story, OP. I hope you're able to move on from all of this. I'm breaking off my engagement because my fiancé might get sick in the future. My fiancé and I have been together for 5 years. He's the love of my life, and I literally can't imagine being without him. So the thought of doing this is making my stomach roll. He was adopted, and neither he nor his parents knew much about his medical history. A few weeks ago, he met his biological brother for the first time and found out that his birth father had passed away from Huntington's disease. There's a 50% chance that my fiancé also has the genetic defect that causes Huntington's, but he refuses to get tested. It's not the disease I'm scared of, it's the not knowing. If we know he'll get it, we can prepare financially, practically, and emotionally. He says a positive result will hold him back from living his life, but I feel like it's the opposite. How can we live with this giant maybe looming over us? How can I make smart decisions on where to live, how to budget, or even whether or not to have biological children with this man if I'm not allowed to have all the facts? So I've come to the decision that I have to break it off. I respect his decision, but I can't understand or accept it. I have literally no one I can talk to about this because it's his effing secret and not mine to tell. In the comments, OK Image says, he's terrified to know, and he's performing the psychological gymnastics of, if I don't acknowledge it, it won't happen, or it will go away. Give it some time. This should be at the very top. Talk to him, OP, and tell him that he can't run from the potential reality and that he needs to face it with you. Considering y'all have been together for so long, he should, I hope, have the courage to stand with you and face it together. A deleted commenter says, my husband has been battling heart disease since he was 31 and could have died at any time. That was decades ago. It definitely has affected how we live. I have taken risks I never would have because I didn't want to keep him from living his best life now in case he doesn't get a tomorrow. And so, we didn't save as I would have liked, but I learned to become more adventurous. I likely didn't make all the smartest decisions, but life has rarely been boring. Anyway, I totally understand your need to take control where you can, especially when it comes to having children with this man. It is irresponsible to not have all the information you could have. However, he may still be processing the information and may come around. I would definitely postpone the wedding if needed, to give him time to accept it. When you're a couple, sometimes you have to accept some personal discomfort in not getting your way right now. Rhubarb Boston says, it's only been a few weeks. I'd give him time to process and absorb his feelings. Yes, a bad test result can very much affect one's outlook on life, and he will be the one dealing with it. I know you're there to support him if he got sick, but in the end, he's the one that would be suffering from the disease. It's not the same. Tying your future to someone else definitely puts you into things that you'd rather avoid. So I understand your desire to plan and prepare for what you can, so you can better handle what you don't know and can't control. He deserves your love and support right now. You can postpone or see a couples therapist, But don't throw away a perfectly good relationship because your partner is still reeling from the loss of a father that he never knew, the knowledge of a disease that could possibly kill him too, all with the pressures from a fiancé and wedding plans. These things take time. Back up to the post, we have an edit. I have to go to work now, but I'll try to continue responding throughout the day, especially to the comments that exactly mirror the dissenting voice in my head. I just want to clarify a few things up here. 1. I would not leave him if he tested positive for the defect. I would not leave him if he got sick. I just want to plan for us to be able to afford the best life and care for him if he does, which means we'd have to start immediately. 2. I don't want or need perfect children. That isn't realistic, but it is possible to avoid them being subjected to a 50-50 chance of having this disease. Of course, there are alternative options, but again, they involve preparation and planning. I'm more than willing to take a full genetic panel as well. 3. Yes, one or both of us could get cancer or permanently disabled in an accident or any number of things. But I've come to learn that you can't plan for every unpredictable thing that life throws at you. This is the rare occasion that we do have the opportunity to prepare. 4. Essentially, it comes down to the fact that we are incompatible regardless of how much we love each other. I'm a planner, and he is very laid back. Until now, these traits have complemented each other, but unfortunately they've brought us to an impasse that I don't think we can both move forward from happily. Second edit, I'm flawed at all of these responses, supportive and otherwise. At the very least, I feel validated that this is a complex issue with no clear and obvious answer. I've decided to take a few steps back. Those of you who brought up the fact that a few weeks is probably too little time for him to fully process his possible diagnosis have a really valid point. Just because I want to immediately jump into problem-solving mode doesn't mean that it's necessarily the right thing to do here. So I'm not leaving. Yet, at least, and hopefully never. I'm going to find a therapist to help me work through my anxieties and give my fiancé some space, not literal, to work through his. And then we'll revisit this conversation, hopefully with more patience on my part and willingness to act on his. I'm glad they came back with those edits to kind of clarify the situation, because I think that, yeah, OP was moving too fast here. Jumping straight into, well, he's had his few weeks to come to terms with this debilitating disease. You know, he's had time. I think it's an impasse now. It's time to move on. Look, I know Reddit is very much guilty of the divorce right now. This is a fundamental incompatibility. I definitely take it at a case-by-case basis, and in this one, OP was jumping the gun. Again, I'm glad that she read people's stories. She took to heart the advice people tried to give her. Whether that advice was positive or negative doesn't matter. It seems that it made a positive impact on OP in that she wasn't trying to break up with him straight away. I like that, and I'm glad that she was open to change. And now, onto the first update. Hi, remember me? I posted earlier this year about my fiancé who was refusing to get tested for Huntington's after learning that he had a 50-50 chance of having the genetic defect. Some of you gave me great advice and support, others the wake-up call I needed, and the rest of you, well, Reddit gonna Reddit. I'm not sure if it was obvious, but I was not in a good place when I made that post. When I stress, I don't sleep or eat. For him, it may have only been a few weeks to accept the situation, but for me, it was a few long weeks of non-stop anxiety where I was lucky to get even an hour of restless sleep at night. I was plain exhausted on top of everything else, and only began to consider leaving when I started to hit my breaking point. Anyway, we talked about it, at length. We cried, we fought, we researched, I showed him empathy. We consulted with friends, family, and specialists. We pressed pause for days or weeks when we needed a break from the whole damn thing, and in the end, he agreed to have the test. Guys, to say that we dodged an absolute maelstrom of bullets would be putting it mildly. He's negative, both for developing the disease himself as well as the risk of passing it on. No matter what else happens, this is one area where he is assuredly safe. All of this said, once the euphoria faded, we decided that it was necessary to put a hold on our engagement and take some time apart. I still love him with all my heart, but this was our first serious disagreement as a couple, and it forced us to seriously reflect on ourselves and our relationship. Neither of our positions were wrong, but they were so disparate that there was no realistic compromise. I've spent the last few months traveling abroad, and other than a few texts, we haven't spoken much. But I'm home now, and we have our second first date tonight. Wish me luck. Edits. 1. I mentioned this a million times in the first post, but here goes again. I had no plans to leave if he tested positive. I just needed to know so that we could plan our lives accordingly. 2. We decided together to take a break. It's been an incredibly difficult, emotionally charged roller coaster of a year. I didn't leave him. 3. We planned from day one to keep communication to a minimum. It was difficult. I actually began keeping a journal of all the things that I wanted to call or text him about. It's extensive, and I can't wait to share it with him. 4. I didn't give him an ultimatum, but I understand why that's the takeaway. I only told Reddit that I was thinking of leaving, and I know that it was rash and irrational. 5. No, I'm not going to kill myself. Sorry if that disappoints you. Jesus Christ, Reddit. 6. Why does everyone seem to think that traveling means sleeping around? 7. I'm just going to leave a little timeline here for those of you who think that I've been traveling since my last post. He learned that he was at risk of developing HD. I posted on Reddit when I reached my own breaking point and needed to vent about how I was affected. We spent the next 3-ish months discussing next steps, consulting professionals, meeting others in our situation, etc. He made his own decision to get tested. That took a while, since there's lots of steps you have to go through before they'll even agree to do it. We learned he's negative, we rode the emotional high for a bit, and then realized we weren't the same people we were at the beginning of the year, and no longer knew how to be normally together, given everything we learned about ourselves and each other during the hardest of situations. We decided to take a break and meet for dinner on the 16th of September. I'm now getting ready to leave for said dinner. Update 2. This title continues to be embarrassingly bad and now irrelevant, but I kind of feel like I'm stuck with it now. Sorry, and I can't believe how many of you want to hear about it. Of course, I couldn't leave you hanging, but there's a few things that I want to address first, so please bear with me for a few more sentences. It feels like many of you are determined for there to be a bad guy here, but please don't put this label on my fiancé. He doesn't deserve it. He's not a jerk, an asshole, or an ostrich. He's a man who was suddenly forced to face his own morality. He had a very human response, and I didn't make it any easier on him during those first few weeks. On that note, it's great that so many of you guys always react perfectly to every tough situation that life throws at you. I'm sadly not like that. Sometimes, I mess up like I did by not initially giving him enough time to process. But I owned up to that. I took several steps back, and he forgave me. I don't know what else you want from me. Lastly, there's a lot of comments about how the obvious compromise was to just act like he had it, but you know what? It was the idea of living like he was dying that actually drove him to get tested. He didn't want us to necessarily save half of our paychecks instead of using them to enjoy life, or deal with the complications of IVF if we don't have to, or forego opportunities that didn't play nicely with the end-of-life care plans that we would be making. Essentially, he concluded, in his words, that the cat was already halfway out of the bag and it could come out, but it was never going back in. If he was positive, we'd be obsessing over every little thing being a possible symptom, but if we left things as they were, we'd be doing that anyway. That doesn't mean that it was easy at all. We actually had to make a second appointment to get the results because he couldn't bring himself to hear them the first time. But that was okay. I was there for him the whole time to support him however he needed me to. Okay, I'm done with that. On to what you actually clicked for. Do you guys know that feeling of watching a favorite childhood movie for the first time in years and being nervous that it won't hold up or have the same magic that you remember? That's kind of what I was feeling yesterday. And I actually have to thank everyone for jumping down my throat in the comments because you did a great job of distracting me from the butterflies in my stomach. Well, the magic was still there. We may have spent some months apart, but it didn't feel that way at all. In fact, Everything felt even better and more comfortable than when we parted. We felt like the happy couple we'd been back in January before this whole thing started. It was like there was a weight hanging over our relationship that was keeping us from actually moving forward despite the good news. And it's finally been lifted. Before last night, I couldn't remember the last time anything with him felt bright and easy. But we're back, baby. I know the general consensus was that this was a dumb move, that we should have opted for marriage counseling instead of going our own ways for a bit, and I'm not a relationship counselor. I'm not recommending this method to anyone. I don't know why it worked for us. All I know is that we were both so drained at the time, and we each had the same gut feeling that a complete separation was what we needed. Our relationship had become far more exhausting than fun, and I honestly believe that we wouldn't have made it if we'd forced ourselves to work together to fix it. Again, don't take relationship advice from me, but trust your instincts. You have them for a reason. And I'm sure you'll be happy to know that he wasn't sitting at home pining for me while I traipsed around Europe not having sex with people. He was busy with his own adventure. He bought a car, we live in Manhattan, so that's a pretty big thing, and road tripped across the country. We stayed up all night sharing stories and pictures and telling each other about the people we'd met. It was absolutely amazing sharing our experiences with each other. I know it may seem like it would have been better if we had done it together, but there was something really special about living it through each other's eyes. Anyway, we have the rest of our lives to travel the world together, because we're not breaking up. Suck on that, people who were hoping that he'd leave me. Look, we know that this new honeymoon period we're in won't last forever, but I really think that we're prepared to handle whatever other challenges life tries to throw at us. Honestly, there's a pretty good chance that we've already gotten through the worst one. Knock wood. But even if there's something bigger and badder waiting for us, I'm completely optimistic we'll be okay. So that's that. We've officially reached the other side of our first major life issue together. Did either of us behave perfectly? No. Are we going to be perfect next time? Probably not. Are we 100% committed to combining our completely opposite ways of dealing with crises into a superpower designed to crush conflict like a 90s cartoon? Absolutely. Thanks for listening to my story, everyone. Roll credits. In the comments, Picture Negative says, I don't really blame either one of them. As a partner, I wouldn't be able to handle not knowing. As a candidate, I would feel the need to assert whatever control I could over the situation, even if it means controlling whether or not I got the test. This, not knowing, is a deal breaker for me. When in a partnership, one has the right to know those things to plan accordingly. She really couldn't deal with not having any control over the situation, and I can sympathize. I'm so glad they were able to resolve it so maturely. More kids need parents who are so sensible. I think we can all empathize with that, because not knowing anything, not having any control or power over the situation, makes it feel so much worse. It's not great being stuck in limbo. It's not great being in a place where you don't know how your future is going to look, and because of that, you don't know how to plan. Do I have 20 years? Do I have 30 years? Or do I have 1 month? And you don't even have a timeline for when you're going to know that. So then you want to take control over that situation by just being like, all right, I'm out then. I can't handle this. I can't be in limbo forever. It sucks. It's a really shitty situation to be in. It's a really shitty place. But they are so fortunate for having worked it out together, and that time separated fixed a lot of the problems, or put those problems to rest that otherwise would not have worked out so well if they were together. I'm glad it worked out for you, OP. I hope that you're able to face the next challenge just as gracefully and just as united as you are now. I believe in you guys. Thank you for the story. Our next post is by user NoPool, and it's titled, My 15-year-old idiot kid got his girlfriend pregnant on purpose. I, 30 female, have a child who is 15, we'll call him Ollie, plus other children aged 2, 6, 9, and 11. As you can tell by my own age, I was a teen parent. I was lucky, and we married at 18, still married, healthy relationship, worked our way out of a very dire situation. graduated, started a trade, etc., and we are comfortable, stable in all ways. This information is relevant. Ollie has been friends with this girl, we'll call her Bree, since he was 7 years old. Their family used to live in the same city as us and went to the same school, same friendship group. We know her parents and are long-distance friends ourselves. Not close friends, but we do say hello when the kids are on video chat, had drinks together before, etc. Bree's family moved to a very small town 3 states away due to rental affordability, which is no secret, and we've all talked about the rising costs of everyday life. The cost of living in this city has risen, forcing many locals out. They moved because of that, and for better job opportunities 18 months ago. Since then, Ollie has been begging for us to follow, giving us a sales pitch on cheaper housing, better paying jobs, none of which fit either of our professions, the whole works. We've said no because, well, no. But even if we wanted to, our other children are in school, sports, and have friends here. Selling and buying another house, finding work outside of our skill set, or having to learn new skills, any normal adult would understand this, but he does not. Well, fast forward to Christmas, Bree's family come to our city for a holiday, and the kids met up multiple times with each other. It was my understanding that they were always with the other kids, but obviously not, since Bree is pregnant, and I'm certain that it was on purpose. He has access to condoms. I don't care for opinions on that. My access was restricted, and I had him. He has had sex ed from me, my husband, and school. He knows damn well how babies are made and how not to have one. Ollie now wants me to move to be with her and the baby. It's confirmed. I've talked to her parents, and I said no, I don't feel I need a reason, but he asked. You're 15. We don't have any proof that it's your child yet. I'm not moving us away from our lives, and you are not going alone until you're 18. We will do a DNA test, then we will look at parenting plans, and topped it off with a too bad, too sad. You made your bed, now you have to sleep in it. He took that back to Bree, and now all communication between me and her parents has been cut. I'm a terrible person. My comments about the DNA test are disgusting, and it's fueling my son's hate for me. He says I'm keeping him from the love of his life and future baby, using my own successful relationship as proof that it will work out. I actually don't even know if I'm in the right or not. I'm just really upset and feel like my life I worked really hard for has been destroyed. Edited for update, to answer some questions. She is due September around the 22nd. So no, there is no option for abortion. I don't think that or adoption ever was. Ollie admitted that it was on purpose last night. Apparently it was Bree's idea first, as a joke, that turned into a plan together. Bree's parents will only pass messages through my son, and I heard this for myself. I stood outside the door and listened to them tell him, "Tell your mother, insert information below," because I know I'll just go off on her about that bullshit still. They are talking shit about me with my kid. They are appalled I would even think that way of Bree when I've known her for more than half her life and do not wish to talk to me. I will not allow him to move out there alone. There are some past issues, such as Bree breaking up with him twice in the last 18 months because she found someone that she liked more in her new town. Around August and October last year, same boy. And when it ended, she came back to Ollie. Bree is a nice girl, but her behavior is toxic and has been since a child. Her mother and stepfather are nice, but the relationship is unstable, the house is chaos. 9 children combined, blended family, and 2 out of 3 teenagers with serious mental health struggles. He would be leaving stability for chaos and no structure. I want a DNA test. I will not budge on that. I'm close to cutting his contact totally at this point because they're only empowering him and reinforcing his behavior towards me and his father. His father is a man of few words, which is unhelpful. So far, he's backed everything I've said and only really chosen to say, "You have the intelligence of a pear." He's not wrong. He kinda cooked with that. On to the second update. Things have gone south even further. At this point, husband and I have been blocked on all social media and numbers blocked, but the communication with Ollie has continued. Ollie gave us Bree's parents' email address to send an email to, but before using that, I asked him to video chat Bree with me there, and then I could ask Bree to please get her parents so I can talk to them about this and tell her that if they were going to continue to refuse, then I would be blocking all contact to Ollie and communication until this is resolved. I told Ollie this before the call. At first, he flipped out about it, but it was this or I cut communication completely. I do think he understood that it's not okay that her parents are speaking to me through minors, and he said himself that he would like us to talk to each other. Bree joined the call and hung up when she saw that I too was there. Ollie called back a few times and she did not answer. She asked via text why I wanted to talk to her, and Ollie told her that I wanted to speak to her mother and that if we didn't resolve this communication issue, then all contact would be ended until her parents made contact with us and we made a plan for the next few months, including DNA and then birth arrangements, said that if the baby is his, then we will travel there for the birth and the first few weeks after. He told her that I personally think that it probably is his baby, but I want to be sure and make sure everything is done right from the start. Well, Bree blocked him with a reply, and he is totally heartbroken and not eating, sitting in his room all day and night, not mad at me surprisingly, very, very sorry for him and to us, sad about it all, and I think regretful. He even asked me if there was a way to undo it for himself. I haven't talked about signing over rights, aka a male abortion as his father called it, because I think he's just upset right now. A mutual friend of Bree and Ollie's here in our hometown showed him a few posts that she has made in the last 24 hours. Things like, "It's you and me against the world, baby girl," and memes about deadbeat dads. She also announced the pregnancy, which she hadn't done yet, and the post had some single mother facts and quotes. Ollie's friends knew about the situation, and a few were under the impression that he had dumped her and the baby, going by the posts, but when he explained what had happened, they all rallied for him in the comments. I said not to, and now she has blocked them, and we can't see what she has posted. This is just a nightmare. I kind of have a plan personally, not set, but something that I wanted to talk to her parents about, but I don't even want to waste my time at this point. Ollie gave us Bree's parents' email address to send an email to with said plan. Basically, Bree does DNA blood test, we pay the full $1,500 for it. If it is his baby, we can book flights and plan to be there for the first month. I will stay with Ollie, maybe even the whole family, and then we can also work on a parenting plan and getting into mediation for a judge to sign off on it. Ollie's father and I split for the first 7 months of his life, so we have done this before and we know the process. But at this point, I think I'll just leave it to settle before sending an email. In the comments, nobody gonna point out both children are manipulative? Obviously the girl was on board, and it sure seems like they both kept it under wraps until it couldn't be aborted. Both children are bad actors here. And OP says, I think it was planned 100% on both sides, and this was Christmas. She's around 24 weeks, I believe, and way past abortion. They also never told us until 20 weeks. Her family knew, but never contacted me. Another commenter says, quite the manipulative teen you've got there. But by teen logic, his plan makes perfect sense. From any point of view, you can't give in to his plan though. It would ruin you financially, ruin his relationship with his siblings, and yours with him. I would give him a detailed plan on how you and your partner manage to rise above all the risks of teen pregnancy. Focus on school, plan ahead, make sure the village is on board, and of course how lucky you both were that it all worked out despite having to sacrifice so much. How does he expect you to support his child without your jobs? But he made the choice to become a parent, so now he will have to do what you did. Focus on school, get stability, make sure to stay in his and her parents' good graces so they can be the village that they will desperately need. There is nothing he can do to support his girlfriend physically, and as a jab, he's done enough physical support for a good while to come. He doesn't have a job, no way to provide financially. All he can do is focus on being able to do that as well and as soon as possible. So by the time he's ready to go partying, no, he isn't. He's going to bed early to get up for his weekend job to save up for his kid. Another commenter says, he's 15. You get to make the decisions and you are doing the right thing. No way you can move your whole family because of this. The responsible thing is to do a DNA test and set up a parenting plan. He won't like your decisions, but that's too bad. Sometimes being a good parent is making decisions that our kids have to hate us for. This is a result of their bad decisions, not yours. Reality is about to hit that kid like a fucking train. A 15-year-old does not get to dictate terms on uprooting the whole family and ripping his siblings away from the only lives they know. A 15-year-old does not tell his parents what they will do, full stop. Junior here can sit down and reflect on how badly he has messed up his own future. That is the limit of his power right now. He's 15. He will do as he is told. We can see here that he has the decision-making skills of the average parakeet. Feel free to tell him that. He doesn't even know if it's his child. Insist on that. Very good point. We don't know if it's their child, and as a lot of you in the comments pointed out on the story with the father going behind his wife's back to check if his son is really his, I think in regard to the fraud aspect of it, where you can potentially have people that will have someone else's baby but set you up to be the financial guardian of that child, the financial provider, I agree with you guys. It is smart to get the DNA test done. That is a valid point. In this situation as well, it's valid to get a DNA test done, especially given how cagey and non-communicative the supposed baby mama and the parents are. And the fact that they keep blocking you, they don't want to talk to you, they outright refuse the DNA test. This is solidifying those points that you guys are making in the comments there, and it is confirming it for me. Seems like a case of fraud. It wasn't a case of fraud in that first story, but in this story, there's so many alarm bells, there's so many red flags. It seems like Ollie is not the parent, but they're trying to put it on Ollie because he comes from a financially stable family, and their family in comparison is as bad as it gets. That is the worst comparison ever. Such an unstable household. Not good, not able to provide for that child. Might as well latch onto Ollie because he's a sure bet. Absolutely not. Update 3. So Ollie's friend was able to see her Instagram through an old account. Different email? I don't know. I don't use Instagram enough to know what that means, but it meant that they weren't blocked when they reactivated. They found the pregnancy announcement post, and if you scrolled across, it showed a digital copy of the scan that Bree sent us as a 16-week scan, which was apparently the first scan that she had at the OB. That is dated the 4th of the 4th, and clearly says GA 19 plus 3 weeks, making an August due date, I believe, or very early September. This would not line up with a due date given to us, but does line up with when her parents told me she was pregnant mid-April. They told us, we've had the pregnancy confirmed, and sent a photo of the printed pic, which the date isn't on there. I actually think that it may have been cut off the top. I haven't told Ollie this yet because I want to be sure. I am very concerned about his mental health at the moment and taking that into consideration. But unless she gave the wrong period dates and the baby measured only 16 weeks, then it's not possible for it to be our son's. Also, added information, her due date from what we know is September 22nd. She was here from December 20th to January 7th and saw Ollie December 21st and 22nd and January 4th and 5th. Never overnight. I asked Ollie, when did this happen? And he said January 4th was the only time, which makes more sense, as they were in public gatherings otherwise. They were at a mutual friend's birthday that night, but never stayed overnight. I've had 5 kids, and I know the dates are too close to figure it out that way. Ollie said that the joke that Bree made was just to see if it happens, the pregnancy, because then it's obviously meant to be, and he would be able to move. To me, it sounds like she had the plan a lot longer, but I may be biased here. In the comments, when asked, is OP cutting her son's communication off with Bree, OP says, sorry if it sounds childish, but I'm only updating because I have no one to ask or talk to. I don't want to reach out to other parents I know, or Facebook, without knowing that it's actually my son's child first, and to be honest, I'm embarrassed. I threatened to cut off Ollie's contact to Bree only because her parents were encouraging his attitude towards us at home. Another commenter asks, so what you're saying is that the most immature people in this situation are Bree's parents. I expect teenagers to make questionable decisions, although generally not to the extent of get pregnant on purpose so we can force people to move, but the parents are a whole new level of what the hell. OP replies, I'm wondering if Bree has somehow manipulated the situation there. I couldn't imagine being like this, and the family I met before did not appear this irrational in the past. Another commenter says, is her social media public or private? If it's public, then sign out, and some social media sites you can see without being a member. Then you can track what she posts. Are you even sure she is actually pregnant? Is she showing yet? Has she sent ultrasound photos? She could be lying about being pregnant in the first place. The fact she blocked your son and friends shows it's probably not his. Hopefully your son realizes how horrible this girl and her parents really are. OP replies, her parents confirmed she was pregnant. She's not really showing, no. She sent an ultrasound photo, but it's a photo of a photo. I wanted to keep access to her social media to see if she uploaded on that and showed more information so I could check dates. I'll see if your advice works. Someone else says, definitely don't budge on the DNA test. You never know, especially with her seeing the other boy. And now onto update 4. So I spoke to Bree's biological father, who lives in this town, who had no idea about any of this. Before you come for me, there was no known DV or anything. I felt I'd run out of options at this point, and I just wanted a way to contact them. Bree's mother then made contact, agreed to the blood test if we paid for it. Ollie and Bree spoke again, and Bree asked to come here for a holiday and have an ultrasound with him to prove the dates in person. I agreed to this, but I may not be thinking straight with the stress that we've all been under. She says she's 26 weeks, sent him a photo of her belly, which has grown, and told him there is no other option but for him to be the father, that the ultrasound had to go by her last period date, and she didn't remember, so she went by her app and it was the period before. That's why the dates are out on the scan. I asked if she had a physical booklet of pregnancy notes or something, because I know from experience that they have all the confirmed information on them. But she said everything is digital with her doctor, and I didn't want to push because it's not my medical information. I'm wondering if I do just fly her out here on my own terms. Her mother agreed, and do the blood and ultrasound here and put an end to it all. Update 5. We've all come to a travel arrangement. We paid for Bree to fly out, and her father was paying for the ticket home. Bree was supposed to fly to us this morning and stay for 6 weeks total, flying back sometime in August. Her father is in charge of that flight. She was staying with us over these next few weeks while we do our annual July 4th holiday vacation for a week, and then a couple more weeks back here at home for the ultrasound/blood test. This was decided together, both families, because Bree and Ollie would like to have some kind of positive experience/memories during the pregnancy, and obviously if baby wasn't his, Bree would be taken to her father's, and we would be finished with it all. But she never turned up for her flight. She texted the night before that the doctor did not recommend, and that she should not travel as she is at risk of preterm labor due to her age and her severe morning sickness, making her only able to tolerate pineapple juice. So she's needing to be hospitalized and maybe even deliver early. This is on top of a group photo that included Bree, obviously pregnant in a tight tee, hugging the boy that she was dating in her new town, his hand on her belly. It was quickly removed from her story when Ollie asked. I think it was intentional to make him jealous. I am done. I do not believe her or her parents. I've contacted a lawyer and therapist. I will not be updating again until I know the outcome of the DNA test that I assume will not be done until after the baby is born, since I was told today that I cannot force her to have that DNA test while pregnant. If this baby is Ollie's and my grandchild, I'm willing to move Bree here and have her live with us. It has no chance and will continue to ruin my son's life from afar. In the comments, it's very possible that her going into labor early is due to her real due date. OP says, this is what I thought too. If the other due date is the real due date, then she would be something like 32 weeks, which would mean that she would be 38 weeks when she planned to fly back, therefore an OB may say that they don't recommend it. To Pimp a Dove says, Lord have mercy. We all know the baby ain't Ollie's. Amen, amen. I pray this type of drama never appears to me or my loved ones. Part of me says give them a little grace, you were young and dumb once too, followed immediately by, and thank God and every one of his angels you weren't that dumb. Honestly, this is giving adolescent crisis an unstable teenage codependency that they need to be as far away from each other as possible, even with the child. It's no good for all. All he had to do was wear a condom. But honestly, I know that it isn't fully concluded as a story, but let's be real. Let's be completely real. None of this adds up. None of what Bree and her parents are doing make any sense. The fact that she didn't come over when it was a perfectly reasonable plan to fly her out, look after her, get a DNA test, ensure that everything is above board, we'll look after you guys and make sure that this is all legit. The fact that none of that happened and she's like, oh, sorry, gotta stay here, doctor said no, it wasn't my choice, sorry about it, and then posts that photo. Yeah, nah. Let's say this is concluded. Thank God they're getting the lawyers involved. Thank God they're getting therapists involved. I'm going to say on the balance of probabilities, 100% the child is not Ollie's. And that all of this has just been some absolute bullshit. That the parents are the ones that orchestrated all of this. And everyone involved, besides OP, is manipulative as all hell. May this be a warning to Ollie not to pull some dumb shit like this again. Because god damn it, stop thinking with that head, think with the proper head, Ollie. Stop listening to your penis. We would all be a genius if we stopped listening to our penis. Thank you guys for sticking around. That was a saga and a half. Wasn't the easiest to read because there was so much broken English going on, but hey, we all came together in the end, huh? Round of applause for us. Thank you for the saga, OP. That was quite something. Am I the asshole here for telling my brother-in-law that I will never forgive his daughter and I have no intention of ever having her near my family? So the people involved here are me, 30 female, my husband, 35 male, my older sister, 35 female, my sister's son Kevin, 14 male, her husband Joe, 40 male, and Joe's daughter Kelly, 15 female. My sister had a blended family with her bio son, her husband, and her stepdaughter. I would say that it was still a work in progress for them, but we all accepted and included Joe and Kelly into our lives. A few weeks ago, my husband and I organized a little get-together at our place to celebrate my birthday and for people in our family to spend time with our 6-month-old son. The people present were my sister and her family plus our parents, so very intimate and chill. Everything went well, and nothing out of the ordinary happened. But some days after the gathering, my nephew Kevin came to our house and asked to speak to me about something concerning. For info, Kevin and Kelly attend the same school and have some mutual friends. My nephew told me that Kelly has been telling her friends that during the gathering, she has seen her step-uncle's, my husband's, organ. She claims that she was in the bathroom, my husband entered without knocking, and he had his organ outside his pants, and this is how she ended up seeing it. This is absurd because my husband does not do this even when we're alone in our own home, and honestly, who does that when they know they have guests over? So I asked everybody who was present that day to meet at my parents' house and confronted Kelly. She started crying and confessed that she lied to her friends. According to her, all of her girlfriends have already had some sort of intimacy and experiences, and she had none by this point. So, she invented this story to look cool in front of her friends. I lost it. I called her a disgusting piece of shit, a psychopath, and told her that she risked my son's father's life just to boost her stupid social life among her friends. I told the rest of my family that going forward, I will never bring my family near Kelly again. The consequences for this girl came fast. My nephew told everybody at the school the truth. My sister and Joe went to school and informed the principal about what happened, so in case any teachers hear that bullshit, they know that it's made up so they don't take action. My parents cut contact with her and will not host her in their house anymore, and my sister refuses to have Kelly live with them, so she was permanently moved to her mother's place. Before you start judging my sister for this, please keep in mind that she has a bio son who needs to be protected. If Kelly could so easily invent and tell those things about my husband, who can guarantee she will not lie about her stepbrother too? Now, Joe is obviously hurt and torn about everything that happened. He keeps telling me that Kelly is depressed and wants to apologize to my family, but I keep refusing. I explained to him that I don't need her apology and she shouldn't waste her time with this because I will never forget what happened or move past it. Joe keeps begging me to forgive her because she's just a stupid teenager, and maybe if my sister sees me forgiving her, she will be willing to eventually accept Kelly back. I told Joe that a stupid teenager can have the power to ruin a man's life and reputation, so I'm not risking it. Also, I fully support my sister, and I want to protect my nephews too. Before Kelly was moved to her mother's, Kevin stayed with me and my husband for some days. So I don't regret my decision at all. I stand by everything that I said, but I feel bad for my brother-in-law. Regardless of how messed up his daughter is, he's a great guy, he's respectful, and he really values the concept of family and honesty. So I don't know. I guess I want to ask if I was the asshole towards him. In the comments, Worried Suit says, Kevin showed his maturity here. He realized how devastating this lie could be for your husband. Wow, good point. I'd overlooked that if Kevin hadn't said something, this could or would have escalated before OP could prevent the escalation. He was very mature. That kid has a good head on his shoulders. It's a shame that Kelly has brother-in-law for a father who is making excuses for her instead of someone who takes this seriously. OP does not say that he made excuses for her, but he is still her father. That isn't going to change. He still cares for her even when she did something incredibly stupid due to social pressure. So trying to make amends and trying to get his family back isn't something weird to do, nor not serious. People with kids don't just write them off. The fact that he agreed she live with her mother and sticked to his wife's side of the family shows he does take it seriously. It doesn't mean he won't try to fix it. Yeah. If he really cares about his daughter, as a parent myself, my first concern would not be forgiveness. It'd be finding a therapist who could help my child and get to the why this happened, and helping her understand that these types of lies have a very serious outcome. Even my youngest, a 6-year-old, knows that we don't tell lies on people. The thing that everyone keeps forgetting is even though it sounds like an accident the way she told it, it could still end up with him being arrested and charged with indecent exposure to a minor. Even if found innocent, he would always have that stigma attached to him. People around here don't mess around when it comes to things like this. And OP says, exactly. Thank you for this. I left a lot out of the post because I'm not sure what's allowed here or not, but let's say that no sane adult who heard her story would ever think that it was an accident. She provided some details and made some remarks that made it look like he flashed her. Oh God, that makes it even worse. Yes, it does make it even worse. Her adding to this story and building it up like he was some disgusting, crazed predator that would go after her at a family event of all places. Yes, that is sick and deranged, and there needs to be consequences for that. Not the asshole at all for telling your brother-in-law that you won't forgive his daughter and that you have no intention of having her near your family. That's smart. She destroyed that bridge. She loses all rights to any good graces after giving your husband the worst accusations that you can have levied against you. For what? You know, like social points with her friends? Oh yeah, I haven't gotten anything yet. Let me just make like insane accusations against a much older man and being like, yeah, that was so sick. Haha, man, I got some. Yeah, I got some. No, she should know better. She's old enough to know better. Something is wrong with her. And if you let this one slide, if you don't rock the boat like people supposedly don't want you to, what's stopping her from doing it again and dismantling someone else's life? There has to be consequences. She can't get away with this. That is insane. Not the asshole. And now, onto the update. Hi all. Thank you very much for your replies to my previous post. I really appreciate you taking the time and helping me with your words, your experiences, and your feedback. Talking to you here has been really therapeutic to me, but also really sad to hear about some of your experiences. I've received many messages from you asking me to update. There's nothing really much to say, nothing big happened, but I've talked to my sister and she gave me some updates. But before getting into that, I want to clarify 3 main aspects that keep coming around. 1. We're all sure that Kelly lied. There is no debate there. No what if, no one has any doubts. Some of you really have a sick mind just like Kelly, so I can understand why you're taking her side. But please try to stop being so gross, even for a little bit. I get that some of you speak from personal experiences, but for the love of God, not all deranged teenagers were victims of SA, and most certainly, my husband did not SA her. For the ones who need things spelled out to them because they don't understand otherwise, stop sending me DMs claiming my husband is a predator, telling me I will regret when the truth comes out, calling me names for defending my husband, saying I'm protecting predators. I will keep on ignoring your messages, I will not lower myself to your level, and I will not entertain your delusions. Right now, to me, it seems the only predator is you, because otherwise you would not be such sick individuals wishing bad things to happen to people who you don't even know. 2. You do not offend me claiming this is fake. If you truly believe this story is fake and that I made it up, why would you waste time in commenting? You're free to move on and just ignore me. 3. I am not willing to forgive Kelly. I am not willing to allow her to apologize. I am not willing to ever have her near my family, meaning my husband and my son. My husband is not willing to do any of these things either. This is a shared decision, and we will never have anything to do with this girl. Stop blaming me for what the rest of my family is doing. I do not command my parents, my sister, Kelly's father, or my nephew. If they cut contact with her, it was their own decision. We just told them our boundaries, but they can do what they want. Now onto the update. As I said, I talked to my sister, and some things are going to happen this week. First of all, Kevin is coming to our place tomorrow and will spend the entire week with us so that my sister and her husband can have time to sort things out. They plan to go visit Kelly at her mother's place, sit her down, and tell her what is going to happen. My sister asked Kevin if he wants her to divorce or if he feels unsafe living with her husband. My nephew told her that he doesn't want to ruin her marriage, he does not hate Joe even if he said it a couple of times, he does not feel unsafe with him, but he does not want to ever have to be near Kelly. My sister and Joe started working with a therapist to see if they can salvage their marriage, and it really helped them. So for the ones wishing for them to divorce, they will not. The therapist explained to Joe that he can still have a relationship with his daughter while keeping his other family too. The only thing needed is for him to be willing to work for it. She also said that divorcing and giving up his own life and happiness is not a solution because where does it end? He divorces my sister, in a few years gets a new wife, and if Kelly does something again to that new family, is he going to once again give up everything that he has and start over? He needs to see himself and Kelly as 2 different individuals with their own path in life. They don't need to be tied together to have a parent-child relationship, and he also needs to show his kids that marriages are not jokes. You don't give up the first time something shitty happens. So they decided to work together for their marriage. They will let Kelly know how things will be from now on, meaning Joe will continue seeing and supporting her, but she will live full-time with her mother. Her mother is on board with this. She was a part of these discussions. Some Redditor suggested in the future that Kevin can stay at my place if they want to have Kelly over, and I suggested this to my sister. I told her that our house will always be open for Kevin, so we can do that if Kevin also wants it. I don't think he'll refuse, since he enjoys spending time with us and his baby cousin, but we need to see how we'll feel for the girl to be in his house. Right now, Kevin's also in therapy because he's been having nightmares and violent outbursts when he hears about Kelly, so this will not be suggested to him anytime soon. The last time he heard about her, he had a panic attack, started crying and shouting that he hates her and wishes we never met her. I'm confident that with therapy he will go back to his happy self, but baby steps. He does not need to be rushed right now. We are all focused on his well-being and mental health right now, and the summer break will be perfect for him. The girl will also be moved to a different school during this summer. This is for both her and Kevin because they will not need to see each other in school, and she will avoid getting bullied. Her friends who she told the stories to went home and told the drama to their parents, so now Kelly is forbidden to ever go to these kids' houses since their parents don't want to risk it. I would want to say that I'm surprised, but honestly I'm not. No sane adults will have someone like her in their home and risk being accused of things. I'm also somehow happy the adults who are close to her in one way or another are aware of what is happening, so they're able to protect themselves and not have to face what we did. So that's pretty much it for now. I think I'll keep updating if anything interesting happens. I'm excited to have my nephew here for the week. I'll finally have my partner to game with, since my boomer of a husband is not that much into games, so obviously not fun like Kevin. In the comments, Lena Listens Loud says, "Not the arsehole. This is about protecting your family, not holding a grudge. Some damage cuts too deep to pretend everything can go back to normal." Yeah, and it's not like Kelly tripped and broke a vase. This is life-altering damage, and protecting your family's safety and peace has to come first, no matter how uncomfortable that makes others. If one thing comes out of this, I hope the kid discovers some frickin' respect for real victims, because people like her are the reason they aren't believed. I remember being Kelly's age, and some friends told me stories of their exploits. Meanwhile, I didn't even have my first kiss until I was 15. I didn't make anything up because I saw it as a can't-win situation. I be honest, I be a prude. I make something up and someone will slut-shame. Probably because I was a bit of a dork. But as an adult thinking back on my friends' stories, I'm sure they weren't all legit, but they still managed to not accuse a member of their extended families of perving. Jesus. If she wanted to make up an accidental penis story, she could have gone with her walking in on the guys changing instead of Uncle flashed his junkle. That's crazy. Instead, she made herself into someone you need to protect your family from instead of someone to protect. You're making the only reasonable call. Silver Morny says, "I think you're all taking the right steps. Perhaps giving Kevin a lock for his door that can lock the in and outside world will help him to feel more secure and safe in his own home, as his room would really be a safe space for him, not also if he does stay with you while Kelly is there, but he will have the peace of mind of knowing that she can't actually get in there even while he's not there. Not that she would do anything to his room or property, but still for his sake. Keep standing your ground and good luck, OP." OP says, "Thank you. This is a great idea. I'll keep it in mind." Malphaz43 says, "I have a feeling that more will come out in the following months about Kelly's behavior. It seems Kevin does not feel safe at home and hasn't for a while. He was nervous when he told you, but I don't think it was because he was afraid that you'd get mad at him. I think he was afraid of Kelly finding out about it and there being backlash. Sometimes you don't fully express your trauma or fears, or even realize you have them until the situation is out in the open and the source is far away." I think that is an incredibly insightful comment, and I agree with that. I don't think you fully expressed your trauma or fears, or even realize you have them. And it's so incredibly upsetting to me that this has affected Kevin so deeply. I feel for him. I would feel the same as him. This is not something that can be so easily dealt with and just forgotten about. My heart goes out to Kevin, and I hope that he can heal from this situation, because it's so incredibly upsetting that he can't feel safe at his home and that he hasn't for a while. Thank you, OP, for bringing out this story, updating us and letting us know how everything's going. I'm also with the other commenters. I don't think this is quite over just yet, but for your sake, I really do hope it is over. Thank you for that, and good luck going forward with everything.